All right, the stream is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to After the War. I am Christiana Ellis. I am the game master for this adventure. We are playing After the War, the thing that you can see on the screen if you're watching the video version. A science fiction role-playing game of mimetic horror, and it's from Genesis of Legend Publishing. This is session 3 of our game. So if you are watching this without having seen the rest, if you're not watching live, well then check it out. You can go back and find session 0, 1, and 2. But if you are watching live, I actually know that you're not yet because no one else has joined to watch yet. It's fine. So,
of our increasingly misnamed one-shot.
well, it's an adventure rather than a one-shot, ultimately. I probably
it's a mini
should
adventure.
have...
A mini adventure.
Sure. So I'm Christiana Ellis, the game master. Our players tonight, David Archambault.
Hello.
Lee Burdett.
Hey.
Nobilis Reed.
Hello.
And Paul Weimer.
Hi there.
All right, so we are playing a story. Anyone who is not familiar with the game, again, just the quick recap is there was a far future war against a sentient melody that took over people's brains and tried to make everyone into a big hive mind. People fought back with this counter virus that worked but to clear the song from people's minds, but also sometimes made them into uncontrollable rage monsters, which was not great. But you know, it's like you play the odds, right? You know, short of letting the entire universe get converted into the song, you accept some rage monsters. But in the meantime, the war was incredibly devastating to the known universe. But that was 10 years ago. People are trying to rebuild. But there are lingering remnants of both the song and Tormenta still out there. Our story takes place in Warframe Yard, which is a... here, let me put the map on the screen. So Warframe Yard, which is set... a settlement that takes place... it's in the crashed hull of the former fleet flagship, the Defiant. And so the entire settlement has started with the salvagers of that ship and are generally does a lot of salvaging, electronics and data mining, trading with the other settlements. Our characters, we have, let me put it back on the character screen. We have Calvin Folin? Folon. The human researcher, once from Earth, now here working on electronics for Talus, the local NPC. We have Epsilon, the Belter salvager, who is on site doing salvaging for... you worked for... Cena the Runner,
Yeah.
right?
No, I'm friends with Cena the Runner. I'm work for Farah.
Right. And then we have Sasha Arkadyenchturganev.
Yep.
Yes. A Belter veteran who also works for Farah, who is in charge of the salvage. And Alan Cross, the former Mars Corp pilot who is relatively new in town. But what has happened since is that stuff's going bad. It's going bad. And there's these blue bumblebee-like insects called hummers that have... it has become clear that they've increasingly infested the air vents almost throughout the Defiant. It's unclear how far their infestation has spread, but there's a lot of them around. And it seems as though they might have something to do with an experiment for secret Mars Corp, revitalizing a secret Mars Corp experiment to try to discover a vaccine to the song. And now the Hummers are involved in that experiment somehow. And the guy who was running the experiment clearly got infected in some way with the song and is now dead from a bullet between the eyes. In the meantime, it's also become clear that Talus, who runs the electronics shop, had something reactivate latent tormenta in them, and so has kind of turned into someone who just wants to yell and fight all the time. But in the meantime, we have the other two community leaders, Furrow the Tinkerer and Cena the Runner, who have made their way to the communications hub and are trying to decide, is this something that can still be handled internally, or do they need to call the Peacekeepers, which is the planet-wide and even galaxy-wide organization that is in charge of stamping out song infections where they find it, but others might argue that they stamp really hard and maybe aren't very delicate about what else they crush. So, I think I've covered most of the basics. Did
Yep.
I miss anything anyone else wants to just shout out there before we get started?
Nope.
Nope.
Not that I can think of.
Okay. So, we left off last time having two of our characters achieve enough points of insight to trigger moments of discovery. Both Epsilon and Calvin triggered moments of discovery, correct? I believe that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
So what that means is that each of you are going to do one of these, and when you have a moment of discovery in this game, you as the player can ask one of the other players a question about that player's character. And then we have a little sort of micro scene to kind of elaborate on the answer to that character. It can involve other characters or not. It could be flashback. Anything that just kind of gets into the meat, the story meat of that character's deal. And then as a reward, both the asker and the asked get to remove 1 point of strain from their character sheet. So, let's start with David. You have your character has a moment of discovery.
Yeah.
So,
Somebody asked me a question, or
well, no, you ask someone else a question.
okay. Well, I mean, oh,
And it can be any of the four. And
Yeah.
whoever you pick, that person will have the scene and get to remove 1 point of strain.
yeah. Let's see. I know. Epsilon is also needing has some strain.
Yeah, but I've got a question that I can ask as well. So if you wanted to ask Alan or Sasha, then that's fine.
The meta
Okay.
game would be for the two of you to each use your turn to ask a question of the other, and we'd all be down to one strain. That's not necessarily the most fun for developing other
Yeah.
characters,
Yeah,
but that's the meta game.
Right. I would encourage you in this context that it's fine if you want to do that, but I would encourage you that if you have a question for any of the other characters that you feel like would be interesting to know, you can do that rather than just say, let's focus on mechanically reducing these abstract strain points lower. But I'm not telling you what to do. You can absolutely. I mean, you can
Well,
you can do
since
it however you like.
Since we're not like at 5 out of 6 strain,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
Anymore.
anymore. I'm gonna ask Sasha.
Okay.
What experience with family made your conviction come to be?
Ah, that's a good one. So, just to give Nobilis a moment to think, and I'll talk briefly. All of the characters have beliefs that are part of how the mechanics of the game work. We have scenes to try to challenge those beliefs, but a conviction is one that has been so steadfastly decided on that it can't be challenged now. And Sasha's conviction is family, including found family, is paramount now.
It's pretty simple. On several occasions, people that Sasha has been on intimate relationships with, and that can be romantic or sexual or just the kind of friendships that he has with Epsilon, has been able to see the changes caused by the song or the tormenta before they became too serious, and were able to reverse them. And only when you know someone well enough to really understand their beliefs, in other words, be really close to them, is that possible. And you just can't stay that close to a large number of people. It takes a lot of effort. And so you need close friends around you who understand you and with whom you're communicating, i.e. a family, to survive.
All right. Very nice. So, both Sasha and Calvin may remove 1 point of strain.
Yay.
Yeah. All right. How about you, Lee?
I actually do have a question for Alan.
Oh.
All right.
Yes. As a former Mars Corp employee,
Oh boy. Here we go.
why did you choose to leave and take up the defense on the Ort line?
Why did I choose to leave Mars and put my body on the line at that place where only a few tens of thousands survived, including you?
Was it 75,000 or was it
It was
7,500?
7,500 survivors.
Oh, 7,500. Oh, there's 75,000. Oh no. Okay. So yeah. So why did I throw myself on there? It kind of goes to my belief that all must be unified, but in the more the sense of a broader thing, humanity must be unified. And so I felt that the sacrifice that I was going to make, he didn't expect to live. I mean, and given how few people actually survived that was a probably reasonable explanation, that would be a worthwhile sacrifice for the greater unification of humanity against a threat intending to basically rewrite humanity into the song. He thought that was a far better thing to do than anything he's ever done. The good of the many outweighs the good of the few, or the good of the one.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, he's Star Trek 2, not Star Trek 3. As far
Okay.
He may eventually get to Star Trek 3, but at the moment he's in Star Trek 2 land.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he did it.
And
But
indeed,
he lived.
the fighters at the Ort line delayed the Chorister fleet. It wasn't a long period of time, but that time was crucial to allow those who were able to escape the inner planets of the Terran system only did so because of the sacrifices made at the Ort line.
A short, sharp shock which killed many but saved
Yeah.
thousands.
And incidentally, that includes all of the people with the Black Sun Project Tormenta team only got out of the system because of that battle delaying the fleet. But that's good. So both Epsilon and Alan may remove 1 point of strain. My dog is yelping a little bit. If hopefully that won't be too much of an issue. Okay, so now that we have done those moments of discovery, it's time for our first scene of the new session. So I think that we're actually going to start not right where we left off, which was with, but zipping back up to where Epsilon was. So Epsilon had been gone up to sort of a vantage point to be able to check out the like the flight deck, like where the where the ships would take off. The not airport. What's the word? I'm not
The field, landing field?
Airfield. Yeah, I guess
Airfield.
Yeah. In any event, yeah. So had gone to sort of see what there was to see there. Did it look like anyone was trying to perhaps get away, might be affected or otherwise? And what they saw was that the basically the airfield had been put into sort of a lockdown. Everyone had been told nobody's going anywhere, just stop and wait for further instructions. And that's kind of what had been said. It should also be noted that this is in the middle of the night, which as a time, let me just remind everybody of our little ticking clock. One of the details that you all learned about the experiment was that King, that scientist, who had been working on that, had left notes to suggest that the Hummer's frequencies were only suitable during their daytime activity. So, what does that mean? Anyway, so it's in the middle of the night, early hours, maybe 2 a.m. equivalent, that sort of thing. But this is a place that operates 24/7 pretty much. And so there's a lot of people standing around. This is a, it's a cold night, I think. Not too like freezing or anything, but just it's a crisp. You need to make sure you're dressed properly, or else it's definitely shivery weather. So that is where we're going to have our scene. So I, having established the platform, will now choose Paul to establish the tilt. Or has there anyone who hasn't done a tilt?
I don't think I have.
Okay, well then David does the tilt.
Okay. And the platform is...
It's basically the airfield,
Okay.
and it could also kind of by extension include this vantage point where the airfield can be viewed. But basically, the idea is something to do with this airfield where everyone's currently on standby. But for anyone new to the game, again, the way this works is the platform establishes the setting, the location for the scene. The tilt is the inciting incident. It's like, why are we having a scene here? What is happening? And so on.
Okay. I think a good tilt would be there's a scavenger group that's coming in. It's like, but on lockdown that means nobody out or in. And it's like, so people need to, something needs to happen. They're, they can't just fly in circles all forever.
Yeah. So that's I think that is a good tilt. Is that there is a team of salvagers that is coming in from some wreck. They're excited to unload. Perhaps they're writing in that. Hey, yeah, this is we're coming in to do our thing, but lockdown. What do you mean lockdown? So now you pick someone else to ask the question, and the question will be, how do we determine what this scene is trying to answer, and it will help us to know when the scene is over.
Paul.
Yeah. So I think I think the logical extension of the question is: will the scavengers be allowed into the community, or will they be ultimately turned away?
Okay. I'm having a little trouble here because I'm having, it's like, okay, yeah, the tilt is meaningful, but how is it meaningful to any of the player characters?
Well, we can decide that. once we know what's happening.
Okay.
Like, for example, we know that some of the characters, we left them off with, with Farah and Tina, but that doesn't mean we have to have the camera return right to that moment. We can say, perhaps they decided, hey, we need to start dealing about this, but maybe they're up there when they hear in there, oh no, there's a salvager ship coming in. What do we do about it? Right? Like, and,
Right.
and so we can decide how the characters might get involved. But certainly I think that
Okay.
the idea of how to deal with this new ship coming in is relevant to the characters. It's just a question of we need to decide how the player characters get involved. And it doesn't have to be all of them. It could be just one or...
Okay. Well, I don't see a lot of reason for Sasha to be in this, so I'll be audience.
Okay. Well, so the question is, will they be allowed to land? Will they
Right.
be allowed to do their thing, or, Okay. So, who thinks that they might be, interested in their own right, or perhaps directed by one of the community leaders to go and resolve this situation?
Go ahead, David.
No, you go.
As a pilot and having opinions about community and unification and whatnot, I think Alan's going to be in the crossfire of this. And he has two different loyalties going on at the same time, which I do want to explore. So I do want Alan on the ground, as it were. It's like, okay, we must be unified, so we got all cooperate together. But on the other hand, we're in the middle of a, forgive the word, pandemic. So yeah,
Okay.
that's a trouble.
So perhaps in order to make this all a little bit pressing, perhaps we can say that this salvage ship had, they're saying, we're low on fuel, we can't just fly around. Do what you need to
Or go
do,
to
but we're
another
coming in.
settlement. Yeah.
No, I was going to say we're coming in. So they're being told you can't land yet, and they're saying, well, we have to, so we're gonna. And that's what's making this, pressing. And I think that this could have come up and start to happen, like just as that last scene was happening. So we could have part of the scene even take place up there, but it needs to, we could say start up there only just because that's where the characters are, but the question has to be resolved down where where that's happening.
I don't see Epsilon getting involved, other than the fact that she's up on that, what's basically a crow's nest, and can see them coming in. Come hell or high water, but she doesn't really have much to do with the ships. So
Okay.
I don't know that she would be all that involved.
All right. Well, so here's a question. I'm detecting a lack of enthusiasm about this scene. Am I?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's some interesting story that could happen there, but obviously if no one feels like their character would be there, what we can say is there are no player characters in that scene. NPCs take over and stuff happens without your players being able to do anything about it.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to suggest instead that what has just happened is, the scene is, I'm a little bit frustrated. I feel like we can do something with this, but I'm not sure why. Okay. I don't want to push that. If you guys are not enthusiastic about the scene, let's not force it. So the fact is, a salvager came in, defied the lockdown order, and so now, in the middle of you guys trying to talk to Farah and Sina about what to do, a ship has just violated the lockdown and crashed their way in to the through the gate. That kind of it's not a gate; it's 3D. So they have landed in the middle of the field, violating the lockdown, and so nobody knows what to do because they're not following protocol and should base security. Like this is not that formal a place. So essentially, lockdown has failed.
Well, they not until somebody gets out of the ship. I mean,
They're getting out of the ship. They have landed. They're doing their
the reason I'm
thing.
not terribly enthusiastic about this is because
Okay.
it seems like the solution is simple. The ship's allowed to land. Nobody gets out.
Too late. There's no one to enforce that.
Okay, so not only the urgency of them having low on fuel is over. If whoever is in charge of this stuff tells them,
So
yeah, fine,
that's
you've
the crew.
landed,
That's
just
the
don't
crew.
get out of your ship.
Okay, but that's the missing piece here is who's in charge of that? The answer, to my mind, seems to be no one, because no one's in charge of it. No one's taking charge of it. The people who are we've established that this settlement has these sort of ad hoc community leaders that get asked their opinion basically because they own the various industries. There's not a formal organization. They get brought together informally when there seems to be a problem, and they're already dealing with a problem. Who's in charge of forcing these salvagers to stay on their ship?
The person, I mean, they're salvagers, so the person who's in charge of the salvagers, I've forgotten her name.
Farah, she's
Yeah.
in the room with you right now.
Right.
So that's why I'm trying to say this is happening. She's
Right.
in charge, except that she's here dealing with this problem, and
you
they're
can't,
doing
you can't
it.
take 3 seconds to say, okay, stay in your ship. I got something else going on.
What if
I'll
they
get to
say
you
no?
soon." Well, then that's a kind of a weird thing, and they're probably Tormenta. So,
Okay,
I mean,
so here's the thing. I'm trying to explain why this scene is a meaningful thing. It's a problem that needs to be resolved, and you're trying to explain to me why we should bend the world around so that it's not a problem, so we don't have a scene.
okay, fine. Then I have nothing to say.
Well, come on, let's not do that. I mean, look, okay, Nobilis, you are now deciding the inciting incident for this next scene. Because
The inciting incident. The inciting
Yeah.
incident.
yeah,
Okay, with the. Okay, I forgot.
I mean, I'm
where
not
are
trying to
we-
be petty about this. I'm just trying to say we're trying to do a scene, and part of the whole idea here is that we're building the scene collaboratively, and what that means
Right.
is supporting the decisions and offers made by your fellow players. And so when your fellow players offer a scene about something, we want to try to support those ideas and have a scene and find a way to make it interesting instead of finding a way that it shouldn't be a scene.
Okay. So we have the setting is the place where ships land. The tilt is that the community is on lockdown and they violated it.
Yeah.
And you're asking me what the inciting incident is.
Well, no, I mean, I'm taking it back from that because I
Okay.
think that that's the wrong way to go. I think we
Okay.
have established that the inciting incident is that a ship is coming in and refusing the order, and there simply isn't the personnel to literally have guards run up and hold them at gunpoint to make them not get out.
Okay.
This is not the kind of organization like this. I don't think the way that you guys have described this settlement, they don't have soldiers who stand on guard in the airfield
Right.
and point guns at people if they don't follow the instructions.
Right, but you don't in a small community, you don't need that kind of thing because when the people when the leaders that everybody pretty much kind of expects say, we're we're having a crisis here. You're probably best if you don't get out of the ship right now. People are more likely to listen than in a like a huge city. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the
Have we-
only people who could do that are already dealing with all of these other problems because they're in the room with the rest of you guys.
A thing that might be forgotten is that there is no flight control. There's no requesting permission to land. There's is there an open spot in the field? Okay, like there might be lines drawn to say, okay, this is where ships land.
We established that everyone is just standing around in the middle of the airfield because they've been told to stop doing what they're doing, and they're right now cooperating, but they're a little confused and pissed off because they're being told to stop business, and they don't know why, and this is not a normal procedure.
Yeah.
And so that's why everyone was just standing around.
Yeah. And so these new people come in, they're like, they don't. It's not normal to call and ask for permission to land. It's like there's an open spot with nobody standing in it.
Yeah,
You land there.
Well, and the thing is that if it just because essentially, I don't think we can make an assumption that just because a reasonable request has been proffered, that means everybody involved in salvaging airships automatically follows that right away, right? I feel like there's probably going to be salvagers who hear, "Don't land? What are you talking about? Of course I'm going to land. I have this stuff. I have to get out. I'm going to go home. I'm doing what I want. If you can't explain to me in detail why I shouldn't, and if I'm not persuaded that that's a good enough answer, I'm going to do it anyway, because what's to stop me?" I mean, if Sasha doesn't want to be in the scene, that's okay. But that's the scene. So the scene is, there is, on top of everything else that Farah and Sina are already trying to deal with, now there's a ship coming in breaking this lockdown order. What's to be done? If the answer is, we need someone to go down there and tell them to stay on the ship, guess what? Maybe that's one of the player characters who gets to be that person. See?
Okay.
There's
Okay.
I could see it's like,
I mean, if that's how it goes, then Sasha is that person, because it makes sense. He's got the expertise, he's got the connections, he's been in the salvage section for a long time. He probably has a fair amount of respect from at least some of the people involved in that section. So he's going to go do that.
okay. All right. Is anyone else going along to do that? To be down there in the airfield to try to tell these salvagers not to do their thing?
Like I said before, Alwyn's definitely wants to be there,
Okay.
even if it's going to be conflicting against his different goals, which is why I want to see.
All right. So we have our scene. Our question is, will those salvagers be allowed to essentially land and enter the community? We'll find out. So that means Lee and David are going to be in audience mode with me. Does one of you want to play the salvager guy or girl?
I'll play a salvager guy.
Okay.
Basically like the pilot or
Yeah.
person in charge of the. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Is there is there anything unusual about these guys?
I give you have permission to have them be whatever you'd like.
Okay. So,
So the concern here is not necessarily that you even have any reason to believe there's a problem, so much as the problem is that everyone already doesn't know what to do, and it's crazy, and now people are breaking the rules, and how are you going to keep things under control? Right? Yeah.
so yeah.
Okay. So
in the process of turning off the powering down the ship, setting everything to idle or what have you.
Okay.
Get out.
Yeah.
So, we're back. Let's go get some chow. And going to the door.
So do we
It's-
have more than one person down there? I could play another one unless you want to, Lee.
I'll play another. I'll play another one.
Okay.
All right. Not until we finish unloading these boxes. Here you go.
He's the responsible one.
So I think it sounds like we've established they have gone ahead and landed, but maybe they're still getting ready to open things up and start doing their thing when we can have, I think we have, Sasha and Alan had been up there with Farah and Cena about to just talk about what to do. Ship comes in, Farah yelling, "Go do something about it! Stop them from just solve this problem!" And we've got bigger fish to fry right now.
Okay. Sasha comes out onto the airfield. I always thought of the shuttle bay of the ship is where this kind of thing happens.
Okay.
Comes, hurries down the runs into the shuttle bay, passes people along the way, and kind of says, "Just hold on. This, information's coming. Give us a few minutes. Gonna head into the shuttle bay, and right over to the ship. We've got like communicator type things, so." So while he's on the way there, he's going to turn that on and say, "Shuttle 6, hold on, take a break. We're dealing with a Tormenta outbreak. You don't want to come out. Just stay where you are for the time being."
What the hell?
Yeah,
What do you
no,
mean, torment outbreak? We've been out for 3 days. There is
No.
no food on this ship.
It won't be that long. Just hold on, and if we need to get you food, we'll bring it to you. But
Question.
we can't have you off the ship for the moment.
Question.
Once we get the larger issue handled, we'll give you further instructions.
Question. These communicators, how open are the frequencies? Have you just announced to everybody who's listening to the communication network that there's a Tormenta outbreak?
I
Probably.
don't know. There's
So I think probably everyone in the Warframe yard or like everyone in the shuttle bay that's kind of standing around wondering why they can't do what they're supposed to do is probably listening to any broadcasts.
Well, first of all, the word has probably already gotten out that that Sasha shot that one guy because he was singing.
Mm.
So, and word has probably also gotten out about the fight between Sasha and the guy who was locked in the closet.
That was Talus. I'm not sure that word would have gotten out about that because you locked him back in the closet and then ran
It happened in the shuttle bay.
But no, it was because he was in his
in-
private residence, and then you locked him right back in that closet.
Okay, I thought it was a storage place in the shuttle bay. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, so I don't think that we established in that scene that there were a bunch of other people standing around.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that were true, they would have been standing around listening to him pound on the door and demand to be released.
Okay.
And we were the first to find them. So
Well, in any case, there's definitely the guy. I mean, the first event was definitely public knowledge.
Sure, yeah.
So instead of Tormenta, I'll say we had someone come down with the song, and you don't want to get out until we've tracked it all down.
All right. I think that's gonna I think that's definitely gonna agitate a lot of the people standing around. They're gonna start they heard that somebody got shot. But bear in mind, this is in the middle of the night. They're all gossiping. They're here. It's a lot of rumors, but now it's sort of been officially announced. It was someone with the song.
Yeah.
I think that.
Well, as official as Sasha is, anyways. But yeah.
Well, it's someone who's come down to tell a shuttle not to do what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But-
so
Song? Oh no! Oh no! What?
yep. So just sit tight. Right now, we don't see anybody with any symptoms right at the moment. We're going through our usual thing whenever this happens. So just hold on. Everything's gonna be fine.
I think
How do you know it's 9 here? How?
I think this is a conflict. So
Okay.
let's go ahead and put it together. So representing the opposition here, I think in this immediate, the whole concern here is that the threat right now, we could interpret it as just threat to property or just to these characters, but it's all in the interest that, like, you're telling them not to do this because you're concerned about the whole, the possible impact to the whole community, right?
I'm doing it because my boss told me to.
Okay.
I mean, I think that it's in the best interest of the people in the shuttle not to come out, because again, song is contagious. But I'm not. Yeah. Okay.
So I think that as far as the threat dice, I think we don't have to have it reflect the entire community because it's not immediate danger. It's
Right.
maintaining control. So I'm going to say that this is a large group of people in danger because I think that let's establish that maybe part of this is less even about these people specifically and more about making sure that the airfield is under control. Are people panicking? Are they breaking the rules? What are they doing? Are they following instructions? So
Right.
you're kind of coming down to sort of take charge.
Right.
And so I think that I'm going to call that large group of people in danger, which means 4 threat dice. And I'm going to say right now that there is no clear sign of the Song or Tormenta in any of these people. So that's only 1. So that's 5d6 that I'm rolling against you.
Okay. I've got my base starting die. 1 for disputes. 1 for hope and relationships. 1 for empathy. And yeah, that's all I can think of.
I'm definitely going to support you so I can, if necessary, take strain. Just
Okay.
Yeah, I
How-
think it
on
might,
the basis of
depending how the roll
hierarchy.
turn out, that might be necessary.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So we'll see.
I'm not.
But,
Yeah,
all right. So I rolled a 14.
14. Okay, I've got a fairly good chance of beating that. Oh, but I rolled a 6, 2 3s, and a 1, which is only a 13.
Okay.
Oof.
So
Okay.
if you wouldn't mind taking strain.
I will take strain because as you're trying to navigate these people on the ship and in the bay, I'm also trying to calm people down. Say, listen to the marshal here, and I'm getting grief and that in return, so it's reflecting out strain on me.
I'm re-rolling my 3s and my 1.
Okay.
I got a 6 and 2 3s, giving me a grand total of 18.
All right.
So and I'll mark strain for the victory, for the
Okay.
success.
Yep. So our salvagers, do you want to just do a little bit of how you stand down? What we didn't really do is establish what everyone's goals were, but I would imagine the goal is everyone just shut up and still wait until you do. We tell you what else to do.
Okay, I think you hear probably a loud bang and cussing.
Salvagers.
I mean, yeah, I feel like the pilot, it made the pilot start panicking. So how would you would
Well,
you as part of the crew, like kind of slap him across the face, say, "Hey, calm down." We're safe in
Just push him into a chair, push his head between his knees, and say, "Breathe, damn it."
Yeah. I think as the winner of the conflict, Nobilis, you can kind of narrate the next little bit of like how you guys take charge of the airfield, or however you want to resolve that
Sasha
bit.
climbs up onto a scissor lift, and basically addresses everyone and says, "Yeah, the rumors you've heard is true. We executed someone with the song today. It was a pretty bad case. We're pretty sure we got it under control, but everybody just hang out, shelter in place. We'll get the word out when things are clear. Don't there's probably some kind of protocol for this kind of thing, some kind of thing that's been worked out, which probably involves, don't talk to too many people, don't listen to too much transmissions, stay on, listen to the emergency channel, stay off the boards for the time being. We'll let you know when this is all clear. Investigation's ongoing. We've dealt with this before. Stay calm and everything will work out fine."
Okay, so I think we've answered the question of that scene. Would those people be allowed into the community? The answer was no. And I think, even though it took us a little while to get into it, I think that's an example of how a scene doesn't have to be very long. Let's talk about beliefs for Alan and Sasha. So, Alan, recreation weakens our community?
No. I mean, if the pilot's saying they're going for R&R, maybe, but no, that wasn't established, so not really.
Polvo must be unified.
Yes, because we're trying to get a organized response here. I was supporting Sasha in doing that, so we just have salvagers just offloading in the middle of a pandemic. So I think that is justified.
Also continuing to support Sasha just by keeping an eye on him, as we've previously established.
Yes.
Not letting him run off on his own.
Yes, thank you.
All right. And then, so that's one more point of insight for you. And for Sasha?
I think large settlements are dangerous has been addressed but not supported, because this is a situation where, the fact that everybody kind of came together and acted as a community, kind of eroded that belief a little bit.
Well, and on top of that, I would also offer that if the settlement were larger, there probably would have been much more structure in place for how to manage a lockdown and what people are supposed to do when that happens.
Yeah. So, that kind of erodes that belief a little bit. I don't think it's enough to have him really questioning it. I mean, he's got a lot more on his mind right now.
Sure.
But I think it's addressed there. So
Okay.
that puts me up to a moment of discovery.
Okay. What about Lone Wolf Starve? You think that?
I don't think there were any lone wolves here.
Yeah, I don't think so, really. I mean, if anything else, the salvagers doing their own thing against instructions might have been, except that they were ultimately persuaded not to do that. So.
Yeah.
So,
And really, to me, Sasha's view of lone wolves is people who are, alone, one person. A collection of people. That's
That's a
even
community.
if they're not really very cohesive, it's still at the kind of family level for him.
Sure. Okay, so the that gives you a moment of discovery. So, do you have a question in mind?
The last question was for
Me.
Yeah.
Epsilon.
So Epsilon asked Alan a question last time.
No, but my last question was for Epsilon.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm thinking in terms of
Oh, I see.
who else.
Well,
ask.
Calvin.
So I think I think this question's gonna be for Calvin.
Yeah.
And again, because of Sasha's interest in family, who are the people that Calvin is emotionally close with, who would know if he was starting to, drift in as far as beliefs are concerned? Who is the people he's got in, what amounts to his family in the sense of close personal relationships in the settlement.
Well,
I mean, a question like that, the
He
answer
doesn't
could
have
be,
any is a reasonable answer.
well, or for that matter, Talus was the one that brought you into the community, right?
yeah. I mean,
So anybody
Talus.
in addition to Talus, or just the one?
I mean, yeah, not really. I mean, at least nothing that has been established.
Well, no. I
Uh,
mean, I'm giving you the opportunity to establish
Yeah.
more relationships.
okay. Um. Hmm. Um. Actually, okay. There's a there is a group of people on who have uh they're he's part of a group that basically get together every so often and plays games like you know tabletop role playing games, and through that game they've gotten to know each other well enough if if one of them started drifting, it would be fairly obvious because there's things that they would never do before that they might start doing, or like topics of
Okay.
interest that they had before, or it's like would would they understand basically they know each other well enough that that uh, they can tell a difference between natural evolution of interests and you know a little bit of uh, loss or corruption, and perhaps maybe there was a time in the past where a former member of the group did actually self exile because of said corruption.
Do we? I mean,
Okay.
do we want to establish any NPCs now? I mean, it could be. We don't have to. I'm just asking.
One of
Uh,
the one of the things about the game is that named people can die.
Well, but it's also like if you don't have any named people to die, it might
Yes.
need to be you.
Yes.
Yep.
okay, perhaps I should uh, do. Uh,
Your
uh,
relationships are your hit points.
Yeah, kill them all off, and then I'll go.
Yeah.
I think that's Tormenta, though.
There's just the fact that when named characters are in danger, I add more threat dice has nothing to do with why I'm asking this. It's story concurrency only.
yeah.
Oh,
I oh okay. So Claire, Carl, and Casey,
3 C's
I
or
see.
all C's. Yes.
And Calvin.
Carl insisted
4
it
C.
starts with a K, but everybody says it's a C anyway.
and he insists that because like he doesn't want to be known as one of the C's.
I made A's in school.
Very nice.
Okay.
Okay, so
You can clear a point of strain.
yeah.
Oh yeah! Yay!
Okay, so I think then let's go ahead and do another scene. I think we definitely have what we need to have happen here is a plan made. And right now, the people who are currently trying to think about that plan are Farah and Cena. They've been bought some time by, the airfield being brought under control. But right now, they're in. Did we establish that it's in the bridge that this is happening,
Yeah,
the
they're-
communication hub?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're there. Calvin was there at least earlier. Doesn't have to still be there now. Doesn't we can decide who else is there. But Farah and Cena have their fellow sort of pseudo council member locked in the closet, showing signs of tormenta. At least one person had signs of the song. Maybe there's crazy experiments going on. The peacekeepers don't know yet, but maybe should. Should they? Hard to say. Well, that's a decision that needs to be made, right? And what needs to be done next? That's where. So that's kind of they're trying to make those decisions. We're up in the bridge, and so now we need an inciting incident to move that scene forward. So it's one thing to have them just discussing options, but now something's happening. And Lee, how about you offer us an inciting incident for this scene?
The sun's coming up.
Okay, yeah. All right. So they've been trying to figure out stuff, but the clock keeps ticking.
Okay.
Okay, and we can establish too collaboratively what might have taken place since then if we're skipping ahead a few hours to when the sun starts to come up. But yeah, so I'm going to offer though that the inciting incident is not just that the sun is coming up, but the sun is coming up, and that means the Hummers that have been all over the place in a relatively dormant phase are starting to fly around everywhere. And and you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say that you can hear that their sound is different. I don't want to put too much on your tilt. I'm kind of elaborating on why.
Oh no, that's
why the sun's
that's
up.
kind of that's kind of what I was trying to get to with as few words as
Exactly.
possible.
No, and I appreciate that, and I'm just trying to highlight and sharpen like the specific reason that's, because
A problem.
if the sun came up and nothing happened, then everyone
Bum,
goes,
bum.
whew, right? But the sun's come up, the Hummers start activating, and there are reports of they sound strange.
What do we know about the Hummers at this point? I'm a little hazy on the previous play.
Okay.
What did we establish about this?
Only that the King's experiment that we know involved the possible vaccine to the song. His experiment involved the Hummers in some way.
Right.
And his notes said something to the effect that it would only be effective when the Hummers were in daylight, like in their daytime activity.
Okay.
So the concern is that some of them may be infectious in some way, changed in some way.
Yeah.
We don't really know because we don't have the guy who did it to ask.
Right.
But
So who's gonna send the
they're
question?
active and they sound different, and now we're going to have a scene figuring out what to do. But now, so Lee, you choose someone to ask a question, which is a lot of things are probably happening all over.
Yeah.
But we're at least starting up here on the bridge, figuring out what the next step is. And the question is going to, how do we know when this scene is over?
Okay. Nobilis.
Um, I'm having a hard time because
I mean, that's okay. Let's talk through it.
um, is there in the phrasing of this question, is there any kind of narrative power associated with it? Is it like, okay, then the sun's coming up, the Hummers are active, the sound is different,
Well, so I
and
think what it comes down to is we're going to decide collaboratively if anything actually has been accomplished between the last scenes and now.
yeah,
And so the question might be, for example, the thing that we planned in order to deal with this, does it work, right? Like it could be something to
okay.
that effect, right? It,
Okay.
you
So,
know,
well, I can say, okay, there has been a plan set into place for dealing with these things in the time that we had, because I don't like the idea that everybody's so incompetent that there was none.
well, no,
Um,
but yeah, no one is saying that there was none. It's,
right. I don't like, yeah, and so
we
I'm
just,
saying that there was some kind of plan,
mhm.
and um, uh, uh, and there was a certain amount of question of, do we want to take the risk that this actually is a working inoculation or not? And the answer that they came up with was, no, we can't take the risk because King clearly was not well. King did
Well,
not look inoculated, but we can't tell anymore. The um, we have to take some action to um, to end the Hummers doing their thing.
Well,
And
so here, let me offer something as perhaps like a micro scene in advance of this one, but only if anyone wants it. But what I'm just
Yeah.
going to say is, does anyone feel like they would make the opposing argument that let's let's see what happens?
yeah,
I know that Calvin would have been thinking kind of hard because both working with these devices, one had song, one had tormenta, and the fact that that there is so much relation between song and tormenta is like a vaccine could, sometimes the vaccines do give symptoms of what they're curing or what they're inoculating against, and you know a vaccine for something like this could trigger the emergence of another of a threat,
Well,
torment. It's
yeah,
my
so I think that like along those lines, the idea that if Talus had latent tormenta, the sort of immune effect of a vaccine with the song could have triggered the latent tormenta to start doing what tormenta does, right? And so that's a theory as to what might have happened there.
right. And would give more. I mean, I don't think there's any that just continues to go with the idea that nobody would want to risk this.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
but
think
is
anybody
Calvin
would
saying
want-
that he would want to make that case? I mean, I'm
Really?
not telling David you have to. I'm asking if he would.
um
You have
What
to
are you
have to.
saying?
What does Calvin believe in?
he is torn. It's like, yeah, yeah. I mean, knowledge must be shared, but lives are not currency. So, but
Yeah. I think Sasha would come down clearly on the fact that, okay, look, these machines can be done on an individual basis, but this, whatever's going on with the Hummers, they're not giving people a choice.
Right. Yeah.
So even if the we have to give people the option of whether they want to take the risk or not. This is not
Yeah. This
that
is
way.
no. Yeah.
So whether or not we use the inoculation is not the same thing as whether or not we let this device do whatever it was designed to do.
Well,
Right.
there
So-
is also the unexplored element of, let's say you want to stop it, how would you actually do that?
Yeah, that's
I think
We
the
would.
the first step would be to learn about this, and I think we can assume that Calvin was sent to gather as much information as possible as quickly as possible about the experiment, to find out what he was doing, in order to find some way to stop it. And I think we could very easily have a small scene to say, you know, whether or not Calvin finds a way to shut it down. I think that a question of, does Calvin shut down the experiment? Does Calvin shut down the Hummers? Would be a really direct question.
Okay.
Not only can he, but will he? Once he has that trigger in his hand, you press the button and turn off the experiment.
Okay.
Or
I mean, the ability to do so may not be, does he understand it well enough? It may be, does he have the wherewithal to push the button? That, you know, how the details of can he do it could be
answering the question yes or no is still an answer.
Well, okay, what I'm going to say first of all is that, like, even if the decision is we want to stop it, it's absolutely still going to require a roll to successfully do so.
right.
It's not a trivial thing. There's no button to push that says no, please, no, thank you.
Something has already been done to the Hummers.
Yes,
that-
and
that
they
will
are,
be undone.
and there are thousands and thousands of them spread all throughout the ship already.
Yeah.
So,
And I think Sasha would actually want to have a backup plan, to say, okay, if Calvin's going to try to undo this, and Sasha's backup plan might very well be something highly destructive that would preserve the people, but perhaps put the settlement at some other risk. So
Yeah, I think Epsilon's recommendation would be to evacuate the settlement so that the most people, that they'll at least be out of range of the Hummers while we try to get this stopped,
okay.
yeah.
and say,
Yeah.
and then we can.
All right. I'm gonna here's my proposal. We're gonna depart from the normal way that the scene works a little bit, or rather, we're gonna just make sure that the scene incorporates all of these different pieces, right? So we're gonna need the question to be a little bit. We'll need to wordsmith it a little bit to try to account for this, because we've already got. Calvin is going to be working on a way to try to shut down the effect, whatever that might be, and render it safe for everyone. And he's
Right.
doing so while slightly conflicted about the whole thing. In the meantime, we have Epsilon going to try to help run an evacuation. Okay. And Sasha has some additional plan, some other thing.
Yeah, does okay. Let me give you a possible wording for our question.
Okay.
Does Calvin shut down King's process and render the Hummers safe, or is Sasha forced to destroy a significant part of the settlement to kill the Hummers after Epsilon and Alan evacuate.
I'm going to suggest that we don't make the question that focused. Because
Okay.
what I'm going to suggest is that we have a question that's an umbrella over all of these things, right? Because the reality of it would be if the backup plan is to destroy a significant component of the areas of the ship, like that would require some preparation, right? Like that would take
Well-
some time to do. It's not just wait and see if it works and then press the button, right?
Well, I'm assuming that this plan has been in work since
Yeah,
for
but
the
what?
time between our last scene and
Yes,
now.
yes, but what I'm saying is you would have had to do some of that, right? And
Yeah.
I'm saying that is going to be like you're going to have your own challenge associated with that. So what
Right.
I'm suggesting
Okay.
is that you are getting that ready in case it's needed, which is going
Right.
to have its own conflict role.
Okay.
The evacuation, managing that is going to be a
Yeah.
conflict role. And Calvin working on trying to shut down, the signal at that end is a conflict role. What about
Okay.
Alan? Where does Alan feel like he would be?
I think Sasha pointed it right. Alan's instinct would be to help Epsilon in the potential evacuation if
Okay,
Calvin can't get it going.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest, and again, ultimately, Nobilis, you were selected for the question, so I don't want to mandate anything. But what I'm going to suggest is because we're kind of doing climax stuff, right?
Right.
I'm going to suggest that the question be, do we save the day?
Right. Okay. Okay. Or how about is our how bad do things get?
I like Christiana's. It's much more cheerful.
Well, the answer could still be no.
Frame Yard Doom just sounds a little too bleak, but that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, what I like about do we save the day is because I have additional threats that are not on everyone's radar yet. So
Oh, boy.
but yeah, so we're gonna have conflicts happening all over. So let's
Okay.
start with talk about this evacuation first. We've got Alan and Epsilon trying to evacuate. How many people are we talking about?
Ooh, that's
That's going to be basically the entire settlement. All of the jetsam, all of the pilots, all of the data miners, all the salvagers, everybody.
Well, no. I think Christiane is asking for how big is the settlement? How many
Yeah.
people are we talking about?
Yeah,
Oh, have we established that?
We haven't.
we haven't.
No.
That's why I asked the question.
Oh,
I mean, in order for there's a big difference between 100 and 1,000.
Oh yeah, no. I'm debating between like 100 and 150.
Yeah, I think. Well, at that level, I think that you have a situation. When you're talking about hundreds, then the number, one person could have a relationship with everybody in town by just friend of a friend.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Everybody's monkey circles are going to be, a significant fraction of the settlement. So it's not so big that everybody knows everybody, but it's big enough. It's small enough that everybody knows somebody who knows the person.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, mentally, I was
that's a
thinking
pretty.
like 250 people. I mean, we never established a number. That's what I was thinking how many people were in this thing because just the size of the ship would limit and half of it being destroyed would limit how many people actually live in here.
Yeah.
So I wasn't thinking
Yeah.
about 1,000 ever because that's
Alright.
just
Okay.
fit.
Thing. All right. I have an odd perspective on this because my hometown is 150 people, and like my high at the high school I went to, the gym could fit 200 people in it. So it's like, 150, 150, that kind of thing is not that big. Like,
No.
and if you think like 6 degrees of separation kind of thing, it's literally like 2-3 degrees would encompass everything.
Yeah. But I think it's like you said, it's just the I really don't think that this can be all that big a community. So yeah, I was thinking between 100 150 people.
All right. So I think that with that number of people, you're going to have pretty much the whole gamut. You're going to have people who are so scared at the prospect of song that they are desperate to get out as soon as possible. And you're also going to have people say, well, I don't want to go. This is like, I left behind so much already. I just started to rebuild here. You know what? If I have to stay here and fight the song, then that's what I want to do. And then you're going to also have a lot of people who are in between of saying, oh, well, of course I have to pack up all my stuff. Who's going to help me pack up all my stuff so that I can leave? Right? So you're going to have a lot of, varying, challenge here. So what do the two of you do to try to make this evacuation happen?
I think we find the people who are just below the community leaders and get them to buy in to help us to make this evacuation possible because they know the most people, they have the most connections. If we can lever them, they can lever everybody else because we have to leverage those degrees of separation to get people to actually move. I mean, you know more people than I do, but we all know people who know people, and if we can get that critical mass, then we can get the community ready to leave if things go south.
Okay. Well, so
Yeah.
here's a very important question. Are you getting people ready to evacuate, or are you evacuating them? Because those are not the same thing.
No, what do you think, Epsilon? How optimistic is Epsilon? This is really what that question is.
I mean, I'll let you guys make the call here, but let me just offer that if the concern is at daylight you're going to have all these people get infected with the song, if that's the worry, then it makes no sense to wait and see if that happens. You get people out first.
Yeah,
Sure.
and that's kind of where Epsilon is with this whole thing. It's like it's better to just walk out of the compound for a little while and let them figure it out and deactivate the whole thing and get out of the way versus being at ground zero, more people at ground zero.
Right.
That's what we're trying to avoid.
So before we roll a conflict, the other questions I would like you guys to answer are you trying to keep the community together, like in sort of a convoy, or are you basically just saying every man for themselves, get out, we don't care where you go? And if it's the former, where is the convoy planning to go?
With my beliefs, of course, my instinct is to convoy and keep people together and unified, not every man for themselves. That's insane. Because
that leads to people being trampled.
Trampled, lost, scattered.
And we've got little kids.
And we got little kids. We got
that we need to.
And a reminder here's some of the other settlements that potentially might be possible destinations for some
Right. I don't necessarily know that we are leaving Warframe Yard as a whole. I don't think we're actually going to a place. I just want them to.
I had imagined something more like a fire drill.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's and I mean, if we had a way to like pull like a structural instability alarm to get everybody to get out quickly,
So,
we can fix stuff. But
I don't want to put a plan on you guys, but I am
No.
just
Yeah.
sort of wanting to raise the question
Can you put the
because
map up
if the-
for a second again, Christiana?
yeah, but what I'm saying is that think about what it is that you are concerned about happening and figure out if your plan actually protects against that or not. Because having everybody go stand outside, I mean, there's Hummers outside too. Where do you think they came from?
right.
Right.
No, I was thinking like go towards the end of the like follow the furrow
Okay.
and go towards the end of the furrow to get out of
Okay.
auditory distance.
And I'm also thinking this is not to make them safe from the Hummers. This is to make them safe from whatever force Sasha and his crew are going to unleash to destroy the Hummers.
Yeah.
That's what people are evacuating to get out of. It's
Okay.
from what Sasha
Also,
not from the
the
Hummers.
Hummers way down on the other side of the Furrow may
Okay.
not be part of this infected
Okay, no,
group.
that's fine. If the idea then is that you're not getting everybody flying somewhere to some other
No,
settlement,
definitely not.
Okay, so you're basically having them just get clear of the actual ship. You're gonna all of the same sort of complaints people had. People don't leave stuff behind. You get a lot of people asking like, for how long?
Yeah.
What are you going to destroy part of the ship? If so, I need to make sure my stuff's not in there. And like what's going to get damaged and who's in charge of making these decisions. And so you have it's
Yeah.
a complicated endeavor, and there are lots of people pushing back against every aspect of the plan from all directions, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So, who wants to make the roll?
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and say the entire settlement is in immediate danger. So there are 5 threat dice, and at present, there are 2 vector dice. So I'm rolling 7d6.
Okay, can we go back to the character page?
Yeah, we need to see if who's better off trying to roll us and who's better to support. Let's see.
Um,
2.
Hmm.
I see an easy 4 dice on Alan's sheet.
yeah, I've got
For 5 total.
I can get to 4.
I can get to 4 too. So I already have 2 strain. Do you want to go ahead and take the roll since you only have 1?
Yeah, that makes sense. So
And then I'll take the strain for you.
so we have my belief, we must be unified, we have hierarchy, we have refugees, that's 3. What was the 4th
You
one?
must be unified does not give you a die. It's only
Oh,
if it's a conviction that you get a die for it.
What I'm looking at for Alan is hierarchy, refugees, sacrifice, and violence, actually, because some people may need to be forced.
Well,
Corralled.
or tactics, for that matter.
Or tactics,
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
Five dice.
Those are the 4 that I saw.
I would offer piloting, like driving, navigation, like getting people to
Yes.
this location.
Yeah.
Yeah, so navigation
Yeah.
definitely. So
I'll
that's
allow that.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Okay.
that's the best you're going to do.
All right.
Yep, 6 dice.
Okay, you're trying to beat 24.
Ooh.
Well, all 4s would. I mean, with a reroll, that's a fairly good chance of winning.
Oh,
23.
close. So close.
Okay.
You
All
reroll
right,
the 1 and the 2,
strain.
though, you're almost certain to beat it.
Yeah. All you have to
Yeah.
do is reroll 2, probably.
Drop the 1 and the 2 and go for it. Yeah. You
Yeah.
take it straight for me, then.
Yep, already done.
Okay.
All right. I'll hold the 4, 5s, and 6, and just roll the other 2.
Yep.
Come on. Hello?
Okay, there you go. All right. So narrate to me how this evacuation proceeds and how the two of you overcome the various challenges.
So yeah, so it's basically playing on hierarchies, getting the high ranked people to get the other people in their sections, to basically follow along, chivvy them along, cajole, convince,
Hand
Organizing
them a
packing
child.
parties.
Hand them a child and
Hand-
say,
hand
"You're
the child-
responsible for this other life. Go."
basically swarm everybody into a convoy out the vehicle bay and down the furrow in this group. I think Epsilon's on one side of this, and I'm on the far side of this. We got the communicators. We can make sure everybody's staying in their lane, as it were, and not go running off and get them all the way to the far side of the furrow in one piece.
I think the biggest problem we might actually have is the Ursa wanting to take the bushes with them.
Yeah, those,
Well, I don't think the
those-
bushes are in that much danger at the moment. They're out
no,
Well,
there.
if
no,
you-
but they do like their berries.
They do like
It's
to.
unbearable
Well,
not
so
to have.
here's a question. What are you telling people about how long this is going to be?
I think Epsilon would be saying it's just going to be a couple hours.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Half day at the most.
Well, so
Yeah.
are you're lying to them?
What?
Because the thing is, if Calvin can't stop it, and Sasha does have to blow up a big part of the ship, what's left to go back to? I'm not saying it's nothing, but it's not the same
Yeah.
as where you started.
Right. But to our knowledge at the present, as far as we know, it's just going to be a couple hours. We'll learn more once we're evacuated, but
I think Calvin would probably recommend, like, if he was like, say, at least a day, at least a full day.
A full day.
a
Yeah.
full day.
Okay,
Yeah.
then we're also bringing food and water and whatnot
Yeah.
along with us and organizing that. So it's like the world's largest camp out then.
Yeah. And probably that would necessitate camping gear, all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
more than likely, all of
Yeah.
the ships are also going to be evacuated off of the landing field.
All the trucks, all the shuttles, are going to be anything that can move is going to be off the ship.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so the Ursa are definitely going to take their berries, whether we like it or not.
It would be it's a nice kind of connection back to the beginning of the game to have them like
Yeah.
walking along with these bushes.
Yeah. Here's a thing that maybe you notice a little later than you would like is that there's a cloud of the Hummers that follow along where the bushes go.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. So I think to entertain ourselves, the smart Alex who think they're good shots are going to be taking pot shots at the Hummers to see if they can kill them all.
These are like bumblebees.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not you can't a machine gun isn't going to help. This is a job for fly swatters.
Here's a question though. Once we get to where we're going, does the Hummer's hum change back?
Well, you don't know.
But and also, it's like I mean,
maybe we come back to that question because I
Yeah,
don't.
you
think
don't know.
it's part of
Well,
it.
this is all pre-dawn, right? You know, this
Uh-huh.
is you're
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah.
A lot of people had to be gotten up out of bed, you know, but
Yep.
you made it happen. You guys pulled through and you got it organized and you got people evacuated. Well done. So in the meantime, Sasha is setting up the backup measures. Tell me about what this entails.
I've been thinking about what that would look like, and I think that since they're set up in the ventilation system, um, that he's gone to some kind of central blower thing there. There's big old fans that have been set up to kind of blow air through the whole thing. And what he's got is some cans, big drums of fuel that he is going to aerosolize into the ventilation system, and then he's got a kind of a remote igniter where he's going to just set off a firestorm inside the ventilation system, and it's going to rip through the ship, and anything that was left behind is probably going to catch fire. But again, at the same time, the ship and probably going to destroy a lot of stuff, but it's not an explosion as much as it is a big wave of fire to go through the infested places. That's the plan. Whether that's what actually happens, we'll see. But that's what he's got. That's what I think is probably the most reasonable plan for at least. And I mean, maybe someone who knows more about this stuff would nitpick me, but I think it's cinematic.
Sure.
And
no, like the goal is essentially to like just send flames through all the open spaces of the ship.
And I mean, close off stuff where he can, where he says, okay, we know that there's things behind this. We're going to close this hatch and this door and this, things. And it's not just Sasha. He's got a team together to do this.
Okay. Yeah.
But the idea is to close them off as much as possible, and then put a wave of fire through the areas where they are infesting.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Yeah. So I think that that's going to involve an awful, first of all, this is taking place at the same time as the evacuation proceedings, right? So
the preparations are happening at the same time.
You're
Yeah.
stepping on people, there's like, hey, we need to get into that room, but so-and-so is saying, well, I can't leave all my stuff, especially if you're about to blow it all up, and that's happening. And then there's also, you're having to focus a lot on where are the Hummers concentrated right now. Can we chase them out of this room enough that we can seal that off and not have to flood it with fire? You're having to do a lot of that. So I think that what I am doing,
and a lot of that stuff he is kind of delegating to the people in his team. This isn't just him, but he's kind of leading this effort.
There's no other PCs, so you're making the role.
Yeah, no, I agree. But what I'm saying is it's not, it's not just, We're using some nameless NPCs to kind of extend his reach.
So what is your goal in this conflict? It sounds like what it is you are wanting this to be set up so that if you trigger it, it will work the way you want it to work.
Right. And I think we should roll until I don't think we should roll until he clicks the button.
Well, okay.
But isn't the roll the setup?
Well, the
thing...
so
we won't know how well it was set up until he clicks the button.
Okay. Well, the only reason that I hesitate is that any strain that you would undergo as part of doing it would already be in place by then, right? So like if you needed to make some other conflict roll before pressing the button, but after you would have done everything. See what I mean? Do you follow me?
Okay, so what we can do is we as players roll the dice and we know how it will go. But that event doesn't happen in the narrative until after we know what Calvin does.
Right. Well, what we can do is what we can say is, like, hypothetically, if you succeed, then it will work when you press the button if you have to press the button. If you fail, we don't have to pretend that you don't know. What it could be is you realize your plan won't work, for example. Right? Like
Okay, that's another way to do it. I mean,
yeah. So
I'm fine either way.
yeah.
I mean,
So
personally, I find it more interesting if he finds out whether it works when he triggers it.
okay.
Because there's plenty of times when you don't know if it's going to work until you trigger it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I mean, we can do that. Like, I guess I'm just thinking about like, we don't know what else is going to happen before or after you decide to push the button. But let's
How
if you
about-
got into another conflict and you were starting with no strain, even though that strain hypothetically would have had to taken place already. You know what I mean?
How about instead of the conflict being will it work, how about the conflict is how easy is it to actually set this up while the evacuation is going on? Like you said that you're trying to work in and out of people, you know.
Are you able to get it set up in time?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that as the conflict. Sure.
I see you want to keep the narrative mystery of whether it will
Yeah.
work or not forward in time. That I think Lee's reformulation keeps that ahead of.
Yep, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you are working against the clock to try to design and then implement this plan against all of these challenges.
Yes.
And I'm going to say that once again, this is entire settlement is in immediate danger because it's directly related to setting up while the people are still in there. If it goes badly, there's not a home to come back to for all these people. You know, there's all of that going on. So, but because you are actually inside the ship where all of these Hummers are and occasionally stirring them up a bit when you're setting things in place, I'm going to say this is actually 3 vector dice and 5, so that's 8d6.
Okay. Well then, one died because I'm awesome.
You are.
One die for disputes because we're getting people to get out of the way when we need to put things in there.
Yeah.
One die for investigation because we're looking for where the Hummers are, finding them and getting them properly sealed off. One for hope.
Yeah.
One for memetics because the Hummers are a memetic threat. One for weapons because we're deploying them, and one for reconnaissance again because we're looking for where they are. So all 7 dice for me.
All right. So you included your conviction, right? Or no?
Well,
Do I get another die for the conviction?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
no,
If you think that your conviction applies, then you get another die for it.
well,
You're working to defend your family, your found family.
We're your found family, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've at least established that Epsilon is.
I mean, if you're not feeling it, we don't have to do it. I'm just saying that that's how the rules work.
Okay. I'm ambivalent about it. I feel like it's kind of a stretch. Do you think it's a stretch?
Here's when I heard a playthrough of this game on the one shot, I heard it suggested that there should be a rule of meh, which is to say if anyone hears an argument made for whether something counts or not, and if anyone says then you say no.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I'm like.
I was giving you the opportunity to make a case for it. Sounds like you're not jazzed about making a case for it, so let's just go ahead and say no.
Yeah.
All right. So goals. Your goal is to have the
everything set up by dawn.
Set up by dawn. All right, and then the opposition goal is that you run out of time and it's not fully installed.
Right, and if the time comes to do it, it's like just
Yeah, that it might have unpredictable results because it's not fully set up.
Right, we don't have everything sealed off properly. We don't have everything.
Right.
Yeah.
29.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, there's 3 6s in
Okay,
there.
well, hold on. because I rolled 4 5s and 2 6s.
Okay.
So that is a 4 5s, 2 6s, and a 1. So that's 20, 32, 33. Just
All right.
woo, off the bar.
You did it. All
Got a
right.
really good roll. So
Yeah.
everything is properly set up, and I added string for the thing. And just as the Hummers are starting to get active, Sasha gets on the communicator and says, "All right, we're ready down here in ventilation. Calvin, if this thing goes bad, you let me know, and these things are toast."
Okay. It rolled 20 and lagged a bit for me, so I didn't see what the opposition roll was.
Oh, well, I said it was 29.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a success.
All right.
Okay. So Calvin, you have been digging further and further into what you can find of the experiment notes of this. I think because Talus is the other person who would potentially know the most about how to work with this stuff, but is currently, you know, locked in his closet.
Would we have left him in the closet?
What else are you going to do with him?
Yeah, that's true.
You,
Yeah, you can't
I mean,
exactly take him along on the field.
I am 100% on board with you coming up with an alternative, but you have to come up with the alternative. Can't just say we did something. No.
Yeah, no, I was thinking we can lock him up in no, but do we even have shackles? I don't think so. I think we would have had to have left him there.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a reasonable question about like what about this evacuation? I mean, you locked him up instead of killing him because you hopefully don't want
Yeah.
him to die if he can be recovered.
Yeah.
So
Ships, there'd be a ship with some cargo space, and you might not have regular shackles, but you got. I mean, you get some salvatures and some material, and it's like they can make anything.
well, so here's the thing: is that perhaps it's a reasonable question of like maybe the decision was made for Epsilon and Alan say like don't worry about him for now, get everybody else out. We'll take care of him when we need to. So we're not leaving him, but we're saying get everyone else out first.
Okay.
And so that's where he has been while you work on this plan. Unless Calvin feels like, do you need to try to see if you can work with Talus and find out more? Because Talus was the only other one other than King that even knew anything about these things, right?
Well, given the presence of Tormenta, it's like it's not something that that's very disruptive to working. So
On the other hand, that's what they say they actually want to do is try to save the settlement from the song. But of course, they were persuaded that because Cena and Furrow wanted to lock him in the closet, that must mean that they're infected already. So, so I'm asking you, what, if anything, you would do to include Talus in your preparations? If the answer is nothing, you do it on your own and you work on it without, while Talus stays in the closet. That is 100% okay. I'm just asking.
I think basically he would rely on any notes Talus would have.
Okay. Yeah.
And beyond that, just
Until it stays in the closet.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you guys are, if you want to try to get Talus out, that's going to be another conflict for sure. So I want to know, as Calvin works on this, the goal, this is where it's very important when we say a conflict, is like, what is the goal? because stopping it from doing what it was doing is maybe what everyone else's goal was. But what if you could make it work? What if it wasn't a risk because you could be sure that it would work? Again, I'm not telling you that's your goal. I'm not forcing this. I'm just asking, what does Calvin believe? What does he believe is best for everybody? So you are researching how this device works, how the experiment works, and what can be done. And so before we do the conflict, I want you to tell me, what is Calvin trying to make it do?
Well, I think Calvin will at least say that he's trying to make it basically neutralize the effect of the change in the hummers, so so that basically whatever the sound is, it's not going to cause any problems. But
Define problems.
well, like it won't do any triggering. It won't. So basically, if nothing else, make it so the hummers are completely silent.
Well, that's physically impossible because it's basically it's their wings that make the sound
Well,
when they fly. And so what you have discovered is the experiment basically changes their biorhythms so that they make the buzz in sort of patterns. And so
okay.
as opposed to just random. So like they would all need to be dead for them to be silent.
And when I say silent, I mean like a sound deadening kind of thing, like where where sound is played in the opposite phase, so it cancels out.
Okay. Let me think. So I think what you would need to do
Well,
that
I'm saying that's what he says he's trying to do.
Okay.
But I think what he would try to do is make it work. Make it be a vaccine against the song, if possible. If it can also be included, be a vaccine against Tormenta, that'd be even better. Because just making so nobody else has to die. Yeah.
I think it's maybe too much for me to allow one role to potentially be a successful vaccine against the Tormenta and the song.
Yeah.
And let's neutralize both of the primary threats in this setting.
It's an ambition for Tormenta.
Yeah. Well, so that potentially, if it works for the song, might be developed further. Yeah. Although technically, the Tormenta works a very different way than the song, right?
Yeah.
Tormenta is technically delivered by nanobots, it's like a virus as opposed to a melody, which can be transmitted by sound. Yeah. And so, but I'm not saying it couldn't ever be developed by that. I'm just saying that, like, I think it's maybe too much to say that one role could let you solve both of those huge problems.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but so what you would want when we say a vaccine for the song, what you mean is that it would prevent anyone who's inoculated with it would not, they might develop some symptoms, but they would not progress to what's known as stage 3, where they specifically desire to convert other people.
Okay.
And so they might have some of this, the sorts of behavioral changes. You're not sure, but they wouldn't ever become like contagious.
Yeah. They would never be acquired.
Right.
Or acquire.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot. So you are rolling in this conflict against once again 5 threat dice because we're dealing with the safety of the whole community, and because you are actively working against you're working with the song, like not in concert with the song, but like you're dealing with the song, like you're using things that have the song in it and trying to process and reverse engineer parts of it. So I think that that's actually pretty significant opposition in the sense that like the song, to the extent that it has a will, does not want you to have a vaccine against it.
Yeah.
So I think that this is going to be 3. So you are also getting 8 opposition dice.
Okay.
And let me, yeah, and so I think, yeah, the sort of the opposition goal is that you fail to come up with a way to make it work, and that means that you have run out of time for doing anything else about it.
Okay.
All right? So, 8d6.
Okay.
That's a
So-
27 that you're trying to beat. It's not as high as it could be.
On my side, saying, for Terran, get history because there's calling
Nature.
on history with the song.
Well,
Or-
Or I think nature is even more applicable.
yeah, I think
think
nature,
nature-
Yeah, actually, nature-
applies
okay.
better. Yeah.
Nature works.
Mm-hmm.
Research from
Sure.
academic community.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Scientists from stolen plans.
Mm-hmm.
Analysis from scholar.
Mm-hmm.
Experiments from physicist.
Yeah.
And sacrifice from dissonance.
Yeah, I think that I buy that because you're talking about potentially like,
His
people
own
might be
sacrifice.
affected, right? Even if it works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that would be 7.
Yep. Okay.
Oh,
You're well
okay.
short at the moment.
yeah.
The 2 ones don't count anyway, so you're at 17.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, I mean, I'd be re-rolling. I'm going to re-roll those at least.
And you want to re-roll the 2 if you're going to take
Yeah.
strain to
Your
re-roll.
strain will make that worthless anyways.
Yeah.
So that will leave you with a total of 15.
Well, I was thinking, like re-rolling, the 1s, the 2, and the 3.
Right.
Keeping the 4s.
That'll leave you with 12, and on 4 dice, you will need to make
15.
15.
16. Ties,
16
yeah,
to
16.
beat it.
16, yeah, 16 to beat it.
Which is a stretch, but not impossible. It's unlikely, but not badly so. You basically need to make 4s on every dice, which is not too bad.
At least. Yeah.
So if you roll well, you could still pull it out.
So here's the. Oh,
Aha, there you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah.
So that means it's to a total of 32,
That's-
right?
yeah.
Okay, hang on. So you kept 3/4. Yeah. Okay. Great. So what that means is, you have successfully repaired King's machine, learned how it works, And you are confident that what will happen is once the Hummers start their increased activity as part of their daytime routine, they will be buzzing in a pattern that when people have enough exposure to it, they will be essentially given a neutered version of the song. It will take hold like an infection and it will have some influence on them, but it shouldn't ever proceed to the point where they can infect others.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So, you have
Upside-
done that. But what do you tell people? Because you told them what you were working on was something that would essentially neutralize the sound, right?
I think I was wondering. It's like there were so many Hummers in the area around King's Lab. Was it the machine that was attracting them, or was it was there like basically one of those plants in a pot in there?
Oh, no. Well, so the Hummers were all around, and I think that the Hummers are attracted to them, but I think that it was basically people jumped to a conclusion that that was the reason for there being so many, because really part of what was happening was that the experiment was using them, and so they, as part of his own thing, there was a bunch around, and he was attracting them as well.
Okay. Well, basically, it's like I thought it's like because it's obvious when it gets back that that the sound is not gonna that they're not gonna be silent like I said they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'll say that they're not silent, but I was able to disrupt it enough that it would not be a threat.
All right. And that's what you tell everybody.
Yeah.
All right. So the evacuation has been successful in getting everybody out. I think everybody is out except Talus still locked in the closet. Farah and Cena, who presumably with all of this were persuaded that you don't call the peacekeepers, you're handling this in-house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been keeping them updated on everything that's been going on.
Right. Sasha has got their whole setup rigged to go if needed. But Calvin has said shouldn't be needed. So here's the question now. Where is everybody when the sun starts to rise?
Sasha would be at a place where he can. I'm trying to think of whether Sasha would be in a place where he can tell that the Hummers are still producing a different song than usual. I'm pretty sure that Epsilon and Alan would not be. They'd be out with the refugees. They'd be out
Yeah.
with the
We haven't
evacuees.
got the refugees back yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I would imagine that Calvin.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Can I just do a little bit of Sasha's like on the radio? It's like, All right, Calvin, it's no go. It's go or no go time. What are you saying? Because these Hummers still sound funny.
The difference is not distinguishable easily. It's a sub-audible change.
So you didn't actually just reverse it. You did something else.
Yes, I had to, completely silencing it was
You absolute fucker. We told you to neutralize this, and you didn't. And Sasha is going to set off the fireball.
So it sounds like you're doing that while Calvin was still in his lab, or no?
If there's if there is time to tell him to get out, to say, you better run because I'm setting this thing off. Yeah, I don't think he would like do this to try to kill Calvin. I don't think he'd do that. But he would say, I'm setting this off, you better run, and we're gonna have words. And set it off.
So Calvin, hearing that that's what Sasha intends to do, what are you going to do?
he would
Your life's work.
No, you know something? Actually, lone wolves starve. He went off on his own, did not do what he was told. Sasha's just setting it off.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. But Sasha's been thinking about that. I just realized, me the player realized that Sasha has been questioning that particular belief.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Sasha is about to do it and then gives the warning. And if this goes badly, you're responsible. And yeah, oh man, he is so mad. Sasha is so fucking mad.
All right. So then, given the warning, right? What does Calvin do?
Yeah. How portable would the machine be?
I feel like the machine itself. Gosh.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah.
How about this?
Okay.
Calvin can't salvage the machine, but he can take the notes.
How about
He's
this?
been taking notes all along. He
Yeah.
could rebuild it if he wanted to.
Let me offer this. We have you two do a conflict against one another, where each of you set the goal. One could be, like, Sasha's goal may not be to kill Calvin, but it may be, like, there is not enough time for you to get, more than the notes out. Whereas Calvin's could be, you are successfully able to bring the machine with you.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
I don't know what dice I'm going to put on this, but
Well, yeah. So you both put together your own dice the way you normally would.
Yeah. Too bad Epsilon's
Okay.
not there because she's got explosives, sabotage, violence.
Yeah, we have violence and
Yeah.
artillery.
Okay.
And, yeah.
And also, let me just remind you that in the event of a tie, the way that works is the first person to claim it gets to win, but takes 2 strain.
okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, I'm going to roll in the chat there so you can see it.
Okay.
I'm going to claim disputes, violence, survival, memetics, and oaths. I'm going to claim 5 dice for a total of 6 on that.
Okay.
Could you claim
Okay.
relationship?
I
Or
don't
not
think-
because
I mean,
No, it's not
relationships
because I don't
almost
think-
goes
yeah.
against it because it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if anything, it would be against it. So yeah. So
Yeah.
6 dice, and
Yeah.
Okay. Calvin's gonna do culture, uh, research, sacrifice, smuggling.
Smuggling definitely fits.
Yeah. Debate, or did I already say debate?
You didn't already say debate, but I feel like I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
think-
I don't think debate figures into
Or-
it at this point. I mean,
Okay, analysis. then.
analysis makes sense of like
what's important to take?
what's the most important things to grab and
Yeah.
how to get it out quickly.
And then
Experiments?
experiments.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I got an 18. Not terribly good.
oh,
Okay, but
Uh,
you have two
so-
strain, so the 1, 2, 2. You have 2 1s and 2 2s that don't count. So it's a tie.
oh,
All right. So take 2 more points of strain, Calvin. But you are able to grab enough of the equipment that you can still make the vaccine work. Now, I think that requires us to establish a little bit more detail about what actually happens. I think that your garden variety Hummer that was just found outside doesn't. I think that they need to be fed something first to be susceptible to what the machine does. And that's why there were so many, is that he was attracting a bunch of them so that he could feed them and have a population that would be receptive, right?
Polluted honeyberry juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the point is that you have a supply of the material that you would need to feed to Hummers. You know that there are a bunch of the Hummers that have already eaten this stuff around, right? Like there's some of those around, but you are leaving behind the large population of them that
Would be necessary to.
was already in place and primed. All right. So, but you managed to get out, and where are you going? Because I think at this point you know that essentially Sasha tried to force you to leave everything behind because he's really, really mad. So you are getting away with this, but how and where? What are you doing?
I am disappearing into the wilderness. Perhaps I'll show up at another settlement. Perhaps not.
On foot, we've established that everything that could move has been taken out of the colony, out of the settlement.
Well, but
Are you walking?
but that there would have had to have been stuff left behind for you guys to take, right?
So like,
I mean, you were
like
not
there's
planning to stay in the
basically-
building, right?
basically the equivalent of a motorcycle, or actually a motorcycle. But yeah, I get
mean,
out and
the intent, I'm sure, was not for Sasha and Calvin and Talus and Farah and Cena to all stay in case you have to blow
Yeah.
it up, right? So there would have had to be something for them.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Calvin's
I
got
mean,
one of those vehicles.
Yeah, but at the point where, I mean, okay, I had not felt. I don't think that the destruction would be the entire ship. This is the ventilation system, and we like sealed off various parts to try to prevent the damage from getting out to too many places. I mean, we established that as part of the preparation.
okay.
So there would be like safe places in the ship that were set up to
Okay.
to coordinate from.
Well,
Right.
okay, so that's fair. So maybe you could have known that, but I still don't think it makes sense that you would have everybody else take every single vehicle off
Okay.
far away while you guys stay behind where it's potentially going to have a big explosion.
Okay.
Like,
Or be
and I-
unsafe from Hummers, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
All right.
say they took every vehicle that has a high carrying capacity,
Okay.
like all the trucks, all
right.
the
Because by the same token, if there are places in the ship that can be made safe from the fire,
Oh.
why would all of the vehicles need to have been taken?
Well, mostly to escape from the Hummers, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but maybe there are a couple like
Yeah, but I get
dune buggy kind of things.
I'm willing to say
Yeah.
that there's a motorcycle for him to escape on. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Like-
So Calvin
so as the
takes
so as
the equipment for the vaccine off into the wilderness. I think because we established that based on the conflict roll earlier that you succeeded on, your design works as intended. There is a fair amount of destruction in the ship, but you believe that you have wiped out the vast majority. Like, it would have been impossible to get every single individual insect.
Yeah.
But
But
you,
the swarms.
yes, you absolutely solved the problem of there being massive swarms of them, in places that are hard to get. So it would now be a matter of, like, when you see a couple, you squash them. But it's, and there might be some around. So it's not a zero problem, but it's vastly improved.
It's a manageable problem now.
Yes.
So here's the question I have.
Okay.
What did Epsilon and I find out? And where were we in the information loop of this whole sequence of events?
Well, so here's the question: when that conversation that just happened between Calvin and Sasha, was that on an open channel, or no?
That was probably, I mean, the idea of an open channel is it's maybe not, it maybe wasn't something locked down encrypted, but they were definitely
I mean, it can
they
make the
probably
case for
arranged.
me.
Okay, we're going to use this frequency to coordinate this,
Right.
and
So I feel like it makes sense that Calvin or that Epsilon and Alan and Farah and Cena would be listening to that, right?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's yeah. I want to know. Yeah, like, did we?
Yeah, you guys heard that conversation and saw the flames erupt from the ventilation exhaust panels on the ship at the moment of destruction.
Yeah, I just wanted to establish whether we knew that was because Calvin had done something wrong and you triggered it, or we didn't know anything. We just saw the trigger and then we're left in the
I
dark
think
as
that
the motive.
you guys either knew from the conversation or shortly thereafter, because Sasha would have told you. Look
Okay.
out for Calvin. He's
He's gone rogue.
scientist.
Lost his expletive mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
It's-
you know is
it's-
that, like,
it's-
all you know, like, he was saying what he had done was safe. It was just different than expected. That's
Yeah.
all you know that he did.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
And Sasha was like,
It's
Was-
too big a
was-
risk.
you
That's,
didn't-
yeah.
yeah, you didn't follow the plan. You
Yeah. Not.
idiot, and expletive.
Yeah. No, so, but what I'm just saying is, from
And you guys
everybody
would've heard
else's
that.
perspective, I would say, what did Calvin actually do is very much not established. Like,
No.
you're not sure. For all you know, he just, like, he was forced to improvise in the last minute because his thing wasn't going to work, and it would have been fine, but Sasha jumped the gun. There's probably going to be a lot of people who think that, especially since they might have to replace a bunch of their stuff, right?
Yeah.
But hard to say. But in the meantime, that happens. But I think just as those of you out there with all of the people are starting, you've seen that happen. I think a lot of the people are grumbling and in dismay because, like what's going to be left inside when they go back. Did they just lose all their stuff? What's going on? But then I think your comms suddenly hiss with static, and then you receive a transmission that says, population of Warframe Yard, stand by for processing. Peacekeepers will arrive on site in 30 seconds.
Expletive, expletive, expletive.
My poor fish. My poor sanity.
So I think, we kind of had a complicated scene there with a lot of stuff going on right now. But I think
Yeah.
that that's maybe a good place to end that scene, right?
Yes.
So
agree.
let's talk about where that gets everybody, right? So
Oh,
yeah. So Calvin,
Well-
let's talk about you first. Knowledge must be shared. I'd say, yeah.
of course.
I mean, now that said, like it's also complicated because in order to fulfill the larger idea of knowledge must be shared, you are actually having to keep secrets from your friends. It's complicated.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, secrets. Secrets and knowledge are kind of two separate things.
Yeah.
You can share knowledge while keeping secrets.
Right. Well, and then as far as lives are not currency, like I feel like that I could see that one because on the one hand you could argue like, are you gambling with people's lives? But on the other hand, if you have the opportunity to make people protected against the song,
Oh yeah.
that's a
yeah.
big deal.
And-
that could save who knows how many lives.
And even if it triggers Tormenta, you can detect Tormenta. You can, like if it's going to be spread, it's like, be like, do a deep, make sure see as many people as possible have a deep scan for Tormenta because it's a different thing. It's different method of spreading than songs. So, it's not as like just a being in the presence danger necessarily.
But that's not actually what you were doing. You were just spewing it out to everybody all at once.
Yeah, it's how
Well-
it goes in his brain.
Well,
Okay.
it seemed like the alternative was to allow it to be destroyed, right?
Yeah,
But in any case, I feel like I could see both of those applying. So how about Epsilon? Mars Corp could come into play because it's a question about like this vaccine. Is this vaccine a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, I think I think that's the way I see it mostly addressed is in working with Alan, who was Mars Corp, in having to get
Yeah.
everybody out, having to.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, you had
Yeah.
to work closely with him, and the two of you together accomplished something kind of amazing. I mean, to the extent that the day was saved, it's because you guys got everybody out.
Yeah.
I'm not evil. Mars Corp may be evil, but I'm not evil.
Yeah. But you were Mars Corp, and so there's not much differentiate in Epsilon's brain. There's not much differentiation between the corporation as a whole and the ants that run it. So whatever this vaccine is, it's just, is it a good thing? Is it going to work? Is it even a possibility? Okay, that's a question. But then working together with you also kind of puts a hard stab into it. I mean,
Well,
are the ants really evil?
and for that matter, your other belief, individuality is freedom. You just worked with a Mars Corp pilot to make sure everybody went together to the same place in order to have them all be safe.
Yes.
Yep.
Some of them didn't want to go, but you made them.
But we
But I
worked
They
made
made
together
them go
to
for
make
their
it
own
happen.
safety,
Yep.
right? So, like that's that challenges, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you get both. What about Sasha?
I think that we spoke about how Lone
Yeah,
Wolf Starve was
definitely.
on that one.
Hmm.
And large settlements are dangerous. I think is pretty clearly on board as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think
Be-
there's any question.
it's kind of exactly tied into what you were saying about how your conviction. It's that there's so many people that you can't tell. You
Yeah,
can't know everybody well enough to know whether to trust them or not, as was proved a problem with Calvin, right? You
right.
thought you could trust that he was going to do what you thought he was going to do, and then he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think you get both there. Um,
Yeah.
and then Alan, you you have recreation weakens our community, which I mean, again, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, it doesn't apply. But unified, absolutely. I worked
Yeah.
with someone who wants to destroy Mars Corp to evacuate the community safely.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. All right. So, um, because so I think we got Epsilon to a new moment of discovery, right?
Hmm.
And then Alan, did you just
Yep,
get a new moment of discovery?
I just reached a new moment of discovery myself. Yep,
Okay. And
and
because we have
Nobilis
two,
was that one too. Yeah,
Nope,
Sasha.
I had mine last time.
yeah. So I think
Oh, that's right.
we'll do those, and then I'm actually just so that we can maybe get to a moment of growth and do that part too. I'm going to offer a couple more scenes, but maybe we keep them shortish, as we kind of resolve some of the lingering
Yeah.
things. Okay, but first let's go ahead and do a moment of discovery for Alan and for Epsilon.
Also, can I changed it. I changed the kind of pseudonym for Paul or for
Oh
Calvin.
yeah,
Outcast.
the outcast. All right.
All right. So you want to go first, Lee, or shall I?
Okay. You go ahead and go first. I'm still thinking of a question.
Yeah, I was going to look at the book real quick and figure out what would be a good question out of that set to ask you. There's a number of things that might. Give me a sec. There we are. Moment of.
I mean, either of you can go first.
Yeah,
No, we're
yeah,
thinking. We're thinking.
We're
Okay.
thinking. We're thinking fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Um.
All right. I'm
Okay.
filling
okay,
the dead air.
Question for, I have a question for Calvin.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
What made you think that Tormenta was going to be a good idea? Why did you agree to work on this nanovirus in the first place?
It wasn't so much that I agreed to work on it. It's that, or it's not so much that I agreed to work on Tormenta. It is that I agreed to work on a solution to the song, a way to save people's lives. If it wasn't for the fact that so many people were in danger, I mean, I would have asked to be reassigned. But there's billions, trillions of people are in danger, so it's like there really was no choice. And also if there had been a way to do it without creating something that was so risky, I definitely would have done it. I would have done everything in my power to keep it from being deadly.
All right. So you can both remove a point of strain. All right.
Okay,
Alan?
I have a question for Epsilon.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep. What do you fear as a threat more to our community? Tormenta or the song? And why?
Tormenta versus the song. Which is the bigger threat?
Mm-hmm.
I think for Epsilon, the Tormenta is actually what she thinks is the bigger threat because the song is piecemeal right now. With right now, it's kind of in pieces, but Tormenta is in. It's a nanovirus, so it's pretty much in everybody, and all it would take is a mass trigger, and all of a sudden you've got a whole bunch of violent maniacs tearing into each other. So as a community, I think that what she fears is someone coming up with a way to trigger that over and above the kind of dehumanizing aspects of the song where it makes you logical and calm and to just kind of takes away that human passion. I think Tormenta, by jacking up that human passion to the point of violence, I think that she thinks that that's the greater threat to the community as a whole. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I can see also Tormenta plays also the worst aspects of the individuality is freedom. I mean, the song is all non-individuality, but Tormenta, you're a lone beast, so it kind of like stabs at your own belief in a way,
Yeah.
turns it evil. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So the two of you may remove a point of stress. So I think that we'll have have these last scenes be a little bit shorter, just because I feel like I would like to get us to a couple of moments of growth just to play with that. So if we say perhaps the platform for one of them is everybody there with, or like a peacekeeper ship has landed in between the Warframe yard and where everybody else had been gathered. And they have a team of Permancers amongst other various races. Permancers notable. They're the alien race that has sort of horse-like heads. They were sort of the first spacefaring race, but also notable for being immune to both the song and Tormenta, and so that's why they kind of lead up the peacekeepers, right? Because they're immune. But so it's several of them and a few other, species with them. But they're basically setting up they're doing a quick setup of like a barricade, and they're broadcasting instructions over there that there's been evidence to support a significant song infection, and all of the population must be processed before they can be permitted to go anywhere else, and not just return to Warframe Yard, but to go anywhere. So that's our platform.
Okay.
Who hasn't done an tilt today?
I haven't done it till today.
Okay, go ahead.
So I have a question before I throw this up. Curious, like, how long is this after
I think,
Calvin's left?
well, so I think not that long, because we established that you got the message from the peacekeepers shortly after the detonation, which means that you don't know that Calvin left or what happened to him. You just know that you didn't hear from him again after that radio conversation. And sometime after that, the detonation happened. and you know what that was. And then this is maybe just 10 minutes after that.
Well, no,
Okay.
there was before you said it was just like seconds afterwards. It was 30
Well,
seconds.
so they said they were going to arrive in 30 seconds. What I'm
Oh,
saying
okay.
now is they have arrived and they're beginning to set up this partition and this barricade and give instructions. So I was saying that it's been a few minutes while that has happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the twist. So okay, I like this because it calls back to the first episode. Our four group of Ursans are attempting to leave the community and just walk off.
Right. They're saying we don't want to
That's
go back there at all. We want to go somewhere else.
Right. And they don't want to be processed. They don't want to deal with the peacekeepers, no matter what the peacekeepers say, and they just want to go. And they're voting with their feet.
Okay. I think that, you know, the obvious implication from anyone who knows this situation is that the peacekeepers will not allow that to happen, and they will use lethal force if they feel it's necessary. So but the Ursan don't seem to.
They don't care.
Or at the very least, they don't maybe really believe that that's true.
That they'll
Like,
actually shoot. Yeah.
yeah. But okay, so that's potentially a good, you know, that's about to happen. Is it's going to come to they're going to force the issue. So so Paul, you pick someone to ask the question of the scene.
David, you asked the question.
I'm going to offer that. So we'll just okay. Before we get to the question, let me just briefly suggest. I wanted some of the time to have passed to have given Sasha perhaps a chance to, like, go out to meet them or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what Sasha would do, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Still me doing the
Yeah.
question.
You asked the question.
Okay. And the question is related to the till.
Well, not necessarily directly, but like it doesn't
Wow.
have to be. It's more like, how will we know when the scene is over? The scene begins because the Ursan are about to force the issue. So it could just be, what is the resolution to that? But it could be something else. It doesn't have to be. It's just like that we will know the scene is over when we know the answer to this question.
Okay. I.
I mean, you can go with the straightforward one if you don't.
Yeah, I think I. Will the Ursan be?
I mean,
Be or stay, or will they go in one meaning or another?
well, you could even potentially broaden it to everybody there. Like, do they cooperate with the peacekeepers, or do they revolt against this one peacekeeper
okay.
ship?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because
Yeah.
bear in mind, the peacekeepers are based in Fort Bly, which people have some tensions here.
Oh yeah.
So,
So will order be maintained, or will it collapse?
Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, so as far as who is there, who's in actor mode, well, I mean, Epsilon and Alan were there. It maybe makes sense, but you don't have to be. What about Sasha? Like, Sasha, even if he wasn't physically there, he could be on communicator. What do you think?
See, my thought is that Sasha's gone off to chase Calvin.
Okay. Well, so we'll do this scene then just with Alan and
Epsilon.
Epsilon.
And then,
Yeah.
so I definitely wanted to make sure we got a scene for Sasha and Calvin because,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. So we'll do this with them, and then we'll do a scene of Sasha chasing Calvin.
Unfortunately, neither Alan nor Epsilon are within range of a moment of growth, a moment of.
That's
yeah.
fine. We'll still just do the scene to resolve the story beat.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I think that we have the Urson. So in this scene, Calvin and Sasha are not present, so that means you two are in actor or audience mode with me.
Okay.
So
There.
you did the Urson before, right?
I did the Ursa before.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, so someone wants to be an Urson and someone wants to be a peacekeeper. Yeah. No.
I'll let you have first choice. Let you have.
If you being Ursa, it's a grisly fate.
No.
I mean,
Oh,
you don't have to be. If it's not going to be fun, I don't want to force you to do it. But I,
Yeah.
you know.
See, again, this. I'm not. I'm trying to figure out what. Okay.
I mean, so how about this? We wanted these scenes to be a little shorter anyway. We don't actually have to have
Yeah.
play it all out. We can just have
Yeah,
it be.
let's just.
Yeah, Epsilon and Alan see that it looks like the people are leaning in the direction of, after everything we've just been through, we don't know how much of our home is left, how much of our stuff is left. We want to get back in there and fix it. We're pissed off at these peacekeepers who have been trying to tell us what to do all along. They're looking like they may actually be about to, resist violently, which could go real bad because, like, the peacekeepers are literally here, like, with weapons. But they're outnumbered. There's only, like, maybe 15 of them. So,
Versus 150 of us.
yeah, but also armed soldiers versus randos, so, like,
Right.
it's not great either way. Like, there's
No.
probably, it's bad if it goes bad. But at the same time, that seems like it's going that way. So it's a question for both of you of like, well, what do you do about it? Because for that matter, you could decide, hey, screw these peacekeepers. They don't get to decide this stuff. They don't get to just show up after everything we just went through to save things. They're going to come in and pretend that they saved the day now. You could do that.
Yeah.
But I'm leaving that to you guys. How do you what is your response? And then we'll see how that plays out.
Okay. I think Epsilon's response is to call Cena
Okay.
and say, "Hey, Cena, peacekeepers are here." There's about
Cena is
15
going
of
to
them.
tell you that I can't get. I will try to get there, but you're going to need. If it looks like something's going to happen, I need you to take care of it for me. And this is partly the GM saying, "Don't pass the buck to an NPC."
Oh no! I mean, that's just her passing the word as saying, "Hey, this is what the situation is.
Sure.
It looks like there's going to be a riot. I'll let you know what happens once the shooting stopped."
I see you jumped to already. You're assuming there's going to be shooting.
I'm pretty confident that there's going to be shooting.
The question is: are we overwhelming the peacekeepers, or are we trying to stop them? Stop the bloodbath?
Well, for that matter, the two of you don't actually have to be on the same side of that.
No, but Alan's the cooperative sort, so I.
Well, I mean, it makes sense to me that Alan at least would want to say, everyone just chill out. We're going to cooperate with the peacekeepers.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. I could see why he would feel that way.
Yes, and then that's where the way he's leaning to. He doesn't want a bloodbath.
Okay.
All right. I think Epsilon is going to question them and say, "How did you find out about? How did you get word that there was supposedly a song infestation here?"
I think that they have no patience at all for your questions. They do not care. They say, "Get the fuck back in line."
Oh, No. Oh no. Oh, they don't want to push me against them. They really don't, and they're trying the hardest.
Come on, it's the
I
end of
think
the session.
I think that's the straw that breaks the camel's back,
Yeah,
and Epsilon is
alright.
going to punch the guy in the face.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to suggest is that we have, once again, the two of you conflict against each other because one of you trying to calm everybody down, the other trying to rile everybody up.
They don't want to start a
Um,
punch. Yeah.
So
I think
let's see who gets their way. So first, each of you say what your goal is, and I'll go ahead and allow that. Epsilon's goal may be we overrun them and we are successful in at least forcing them to retreat.
Yeah.
And my
That
goal
is
is to
definitely her.
Okay.
maintain order and de-escalate the conflict or stop the conflict with minimal bloodshed.
Okay. All right. So let's see what the two of you manage. I actually kind of really love that all of you together kind of did save the day, except that now you're all against each other because of your different beliefs.
Oh boy.
Okay, so one die for me, one die for hierarchy, one die for refugees, one guy for violence. I'm not trying to start the war, so it wouldn't be tactics. So
Well, yeah, I think tactics of maybe recognizing. Well,
Amazing.
then again, I think we're establishing that, that if they try to resist, they will be successful because right now there's just too many of them. The peacekeepers were not anticipating resistance.
Right. I'm not trying not to start the battle here. So I think I only get hierarchy, violence, refugees, myself. Not weapons, because I'm not trying to fight here, which is
You're
nothing.
trying to
So, yeah,
persuade
I just
everyone
get
not to
four.
fight. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not the bloodthirsty one in this one. It's the Belter
Yeah.
who wants to start things.
Well, it's
So
the
I get
Belter
four.
who is in
Let's
the
get it
violent
started.
resistance.
Yes. the violent-
Yeah.
so
Come
I
see
get
the violence inherent in the system.
Yeah.
being repressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Epsilon gets disputes, refugees, weapons. I really can't say projects coordination or toil. I don't think war salvage, electronics, or barter works, and I don't think explosion, sabotage.
I think
sabotage or
coordination
hacking
would work because you're trying to persuade everyone. I know you're scared, everybody, but with all of us, there's too many. We can override. We can do it. Yeah. So I think coordination works.
Okay, so that would be disputes, violence, coordination, weapons, and then me. So that would be 5.
All right. 16. That's not too bad.
Okay.
And there's no ones to take out. Yeah.
Nope.
All right. Okay.
I've got 13.
Well, yeah. So there you go. The 13. Because you got rolled 15, but 2 of the ones cancel out. So
All right, so if I take strain and re-roll 3, keep the 5 and the 6, but re-roll the others.
Yep.
I've got 11.
okay. Okay.
That's
So
a-
that one still
that's
doesn't
a-
count, but yeah, that's
That's another 11, so that's 22.
22.
Or
Yeah. Okay. So, so Lee, you may narrate how you rally the people of Warframe Yard to rise up in violent resistance against the peacekeepers, or you tell me how it goes.
I think that I actually land that hit against the guy and knock him down and steal his weapon. And once I've got one weapon, everybody else just kind of goes, yeah, and charges.
All right.
And so they so now we've got the weapons, and they're pretty much you
you
know,
kill them?
restrained on the ground.
Does anyone die? Are people killed?
I think there's injuries because I think they're startled enough that it takes them a second, but they do fire into the crowd. But I think it's mostly, you know, there are some severe injuries, but I don't think anybody actually dies from it.
All right, all right. So what about Alan? What happens to Alan?
Um,
Did she get to? Does Lee get to, or do I get to?
no, I'll let you
Well,
do
so
it.
yeah, I think you guys can collaborate on it. Technically, as the winner of the conflict, Lee gets to narrate what happens, but certainly I think it's fair for you to work together on it.
Yeah.
I almost like the idea of taking a round in the shoulder. For all my efforts to try to de-escalate, I get shot by one of the peacekeepers
Okay.
in the resulting melee because they're not caring who they're shooting at.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to calm everybody down, and I think I just get knocked on my butt by a slug into the shoulder. And
Yeah.
All right,
my,
so
my dreams of peace go down with me hitting the ground.
right. So I think that you all know that you have achieved a victory this day. However, there's a lot more peacekeepers, and so what the next steps are is perhaps going to be an ongoing thing. But at the very least, you have bought yourself some time, so maybe you can you'll be able to get get them on the line to say, we're not infected, leave us alone, we'll return your people as long as you leave us alone, something like that.
Yeah.
But you know that something to that effect will be needed, because right now the peacekeepers have lots more ships and probably won't like this. But
Yeah.
you've been in those overwhelming situations before.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just briefly cover your beliefs. Epsilon, Mars Corp is evil. I mean, you just had your the guy you thought was your Mars Corp buddy who was maybe questioning it, but then he took the other opposing side.
Yeah. I'd actually say no to Mars Corp is evil because that the conflict was with the peacekeepers.
Yeah.
I mean, he may be causing me to question it, but it really wasn't addressed.
Yeah, fair.
I'd say more individuality as freedom was supported, but Mars Corp is evil really didn't come into it.
Yeah. Okay. So you would get one more point. And then Alan.
Recreation doesn't count. I don't think that belief really
Well,
was.
I think
should have done.
Well,
It's kind of a weak
something,
belief in retrospect.
Well, I think that a different story might have had that come up more.
Yeah.
But in this case, it didn't really end up coming up very much.
One of the things that I should point out that is that tactically, when you have the setting or the tilt or the question, you have the power to slip your
Yeah.
beliefs in there
True.
at that time.
Yeah.
But this is
things
a
that
story
we learned from
this is a
playing,
different kind of story.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and
but
as far as being unified, that belief didn't get supported. It got challenged because
Well, I
we're
mean,
not
you
co-
could still
we're not
believe
cooperating
that
with the
that's what
peacekeepers.
should happen. It's just you didn't get your way for sure. Like you
Yeah.
could still think that
We
this is a
resisted
tragedy
the
that this happened, not a victory.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think you would get the 1 point there. But so let's how about this? Let's propose. Calvin left on a speeder bike with his equipment. Sasha pursues on a speeder bike. Has less equipment on his, so he's catching up.
Yep. He's also a better driver.
I propose the platform is somewhere out in the Polvan wasteland. Sasha is catching up.
Well, I think has caught up. I don't think as much.
I'm gonna. That sounds like it would be the tilt, right? Is we're having a scene because he's caught up. But so
Yeah.
I'm sort of, I wasn't establishing that as much as I was sort of leading that that's probably where we're going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Who gets the tilt?
yeah. Well, and then so I mean, you kind of said it already. So I think yeah,
All
you
right,
know,
all right.
yeah. And then maybe the question is just okay, what happens, right?
Yeah. I think if I've got the tilt, then Sasha, um, uh, I'm debating on whether Sasha is going to disable Calvin's machine. Um,
I mean, that would actually be a really good inciting incident.
Well,
Good.
it
Like,
could, but I was kind of thinking that what makes sense to me is you have a conflict when there's disagreement about what should happen, right?
Yeah.
Calvin would not want you to do that. And so I don't think we should have the inciting incident be you succeeding on something that would
Well,
otherwise be a conflict.
Calvin wouldn't, but I think what the question is whether David wants to disagree with that.
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Okay. I mean, you guys can discuss if you want to have it be something else than that. I guess I just don't want to give the tilt the power to do something that really, if it were in a scene, would be a conflict.
well, I mean, like,
Where do you want to start the conflict, David?
honestly, basically having words, and you can't really have words when you're going full tilt on a motorcycle. It's like,
So disabling the speeder rather than the
Yeah.
machine.
yeah, that's what I mean.
No, yeah, that's what I meant. I meant.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, see, that's well, okay. When you said the machine instead of the vehicle or the
Yeah.
speeder,
Sorry,
like,
I
okay.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
thought you were essentially saying, I want the inciting incident to be that I win and get what I want.
No.
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be bad.
Disable Calvin's speeder and then circles him around him a couple of times and hops off.
Okay.
And he's got his gun out and says, "You're not getting away with that easily.
All right. So
You're coming back to answer for what you've done."
what is the question?
Yeah.
It could just be who gets what they want in this.
Yeah, does Calvin get away?
Well,
Well, that'd be what Calvin
think-
wants, and
yeah, I think that's reasonable. And so, if you guys want to have the conversation, we definitely can. But at some point, I imagine it will become the conflict, and we'll roll to see
Well, yeah.
how it actually goes down.
So I've kind of delivered my line. I've delivered my line.
can you repeat again?
You're not getting away like this. You're coming back to answer for what you've done.
What I did was to give the solution to the song. And it's a solution that would not result in death.
And then you ran away.
Yes, because I knew you would not allow me to continue to make
You
it.
literally said you were going to blow up the building instead of let me do what I was trying to do.
If I can't do it in Warframe Yard, I'll find somewhere else to do it. I can't.
You don't do it by exposing everyone to your experiment all at once. That's what I was stopping. If you think that you've got an inoculation, great. We can get some volunteers, have a few people exposed, and see what happens. You don't do it to everybody, and that is what you're going back to answer for, was your plan to take this untested treatment that probably turned King to whatever he was. You're coming back with me.
I want to actually just first of all offer that this seems like something where you guys could actually just agree and not have a conflict at all. But I'm also just fascinated in that Sasha has jumped to a conclusion about what was happening, right? Because everyone was outside already, right? It wasn't a I am magically going to make it happen to everybody because the people were evacuated, right? It was unresolved as to how many people would be exposed and when and all that.
Well, from Sasha's point of view, it wasn't controlled.
Well, fair. I'm just saying it was that, it jumped to a conclusion is all. Yeah.
I think it's a reasonable conclusion for him to jump to.
I'm not telling him he's wrong. I'm just saying that he skipped to step D when everyone else was still on B.
When people would return, they would not. We could control how long it took for them to, or how many would come back at a time. We could make it so that only a few people came back.
No, it doesn't make any sense to me. Those people weren't going to stay out there for more than a day or two. They weren't prepared for that. We told them there was going to be 24 hours at most. Because if you had followed the plan, that's all it would have been. If you had followed the plan, that's all it would have been. But you didn't. You had to say, oh, hey, here's this great thing that I can do. Here's this tremendous advance that I can create. All I have to do is forget what I was told to do. All I have to do is just ignore my part of the plan, and everything's going to be great. That's what you did. And I'm not having it. And you're going to come back and answer that. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the one who's at fault here. But I'm going to go back and face the music. And I'm expletived if I'm not going to have you there to answer as well. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I'm going to find out because I'm going to talk. I'm going to put myself in front of Cena and the other one, whose name the player can't remember.
The one that was your childhood friend.
Yes, and if they decide that what I did was overreaction, I will take my lumps.
You know what? I think gonna go for the idea and just not have a conflict.
Okay, you agree to return with the
On return,
Or well, I mean, it may not be that Calvin agrees, but
so
David
basically
agrees that Calvin gets.
I'm saying you guys are going to just decide what happens until you disagree about what should happen. That would be conflict. But if
basically,
you just agree, then there's no conflict.
Basically, Calvin just says, I will go with you. Take me before Cena and Farah. If they let us find volunteers. Let's get people who are willing to test an inoculation.
All right then.
Because this works.
Let's go.
It does.
All right.
So we go back.
So that answers the question. That's cool. I kind of just assumed that it would be a conflict, and that's neat that it's not. So we finished that scene then. So let's talk about beliefs. You were both just 1 point away from a point of growth, but let's go ahead and look at our, so Sasha, large settlements are dangerous. Lone wolves starve.
I think lone wolf starve is absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm definitely marking that one.
Yeah, I mean that's really the crux of the issue, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think that's going to be, because moment of growth is about beliefs, right?
Yeah, it is. We'll cover that
Yeah.
in just a moment, but
But,
yeah.
but yeah, that's where Sasha's beliefs definitely going to be
Okay.
focused.
And so for Calvin, um, you know,
Knowledge must be shared. I
okay.
think it's definitely because it's like you know, the inoculation. It is something that you know he's been dreaming about since
Mm-hmm.
Tormento was shown to be the downside of Tormento came about
Mm-hmm.
or was demonstrated.
All right. So, uh, you both you get that point. We're gonna have the moment of growth. So, what is a moment of growth? Well, when you fill your little pyramid, a moment of growth is when a character decides to unconditionally accept or reject one of their beliefs, triggered when you reach the growth milestone on your insight track. Each moment of growth is played out as a deeply personal and meaningful conversation between characters. It doesn't have to be between the two of you. It can be, a character and an NPC. It can be one, two of the player characters, any combination you want. But the key is that the conversation needs to be about exploring why one of your characters is changing one of their beliefs into a conviction. And so what you can do is you can either confirm your belief and take the existing belief and put it in as a conviction, or you can reject that belief and write a new conviction that better describes what you now believe. And so so we have a scene to kind of just go through the process of how your character is undergoing this change in how they feel. So both of you get one. Who would you like? So let's start with Nobilis. Who would you like your Sasha's conversation to be with?
um, uh, uh, um, I think the interview with the two remaining leaders of the colony
Mm-hmm.
about his actions, because I mean he did on his own decide to blow a huge amount of resources to hell and back,
Mm-hmm.
um, to
Yeah.
to to wipe out these arguably harmless, or possibly only possibly harmful, possibly helpful
Mm-hmm.
hummers. So there would probably be an interview where they're like
Yeah.
they wanted to talk to him about that.
Well, yeah. I think there's well. So and here's yeah.
So I think
So I think there's
that's a scene that absolutely is going to
yeah.
be a kind of pivotal scene.
I think there's some concern. Let's have it just be Farah, so I don't have to play two
Okay.
people in the conversation.
Okay.
And Farah is the one that you've known the longest too.
Right.
Um,
And he's kind of already described, what he did,
mm-hmm,
how it went down, how he came back with Calvin,
mm-hmm,
and and
yeah,
and all of his like calculations and why he did what he did.
mm-hmm.
He's being completely open about all that stuff, because
All right.
that's part of his whole ethos, is that you be open about this stuff.
Right. So, just
Um,
for my own sake, what change are you planning to make, just so I can help support you in the conversation?
I'm thinking that Lone Wolf Starve has to change,
Okay.
because he knows that lone wolves are still a problem, but he didn't go out and kill Calvin or let him go and starve. He
Mm-hmm.
went and brought him back.
Yeah.
And that, I think, indicates that his belief is more toward loners need to be
Brought back into the fold.
brought home.
Okay.
Um,
All
And
So here's the
and,
question. Just since we've been going long, I am up for role playing the conversation if you want to do it. Otherwise,
yeah, I
we
don't
can
think it
just
needs to be. I think
okay.
we can just mechanically say
Yeah.
that's that.
Well,
But
so
does it change? But does it change? Does it necessarily have to become a conviction? I mean, I've already
I
got
mean,
one,
like
so
in theory, the mechanic is that it's better to have a conviction because not only do you get more dice for it, um, but also it can't be corrupted. But
right.
like I mean, otherwise I'm not going to force you to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it would be replaced by a new belief, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All
So,
right.
what you
All right.
would do is the conviction becomes your new version of that. So, lone
Okay.
wolves need to be brought home is a new conviction. And then you would come up with a new belief also. So, you
Okay.
always have two
Okay. I didn't
beliefs.
see that because
Yeah.
I was realizing that beliefs are very important to the advancement,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
having
Yeah. No,
fewer of them slows the advancement a huge
right.
amount.
No. So, you make a conviction and then replace it with a different belief.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I
Okay.
missed that
All
part.
right.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think Farah does echo a lot of what you're saying just on the basis of you, Sasha, made a lot of unilateral decisions in all of this. And I'm not
Yeah.
even going to get into whether they were the right one or the wrong one because I know that sometimes that's hard to know, but that's why sometimes it's best to get someone else's opinion before you do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could have had people come back in controlled areas. We had made some of the parts of the ship safe and sealed off. We didn't have to blow up half the ship. And for that matter, if you hadn't shot King right away, we might have had more time to find out what was going on with what he was doing. Maybe we could have gotten to Talus um, before all that happened. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, we
Yeah.
can't ever know what would have happened. And I'm not even blaming you for anything. I'm just saying there were some of those decisions that I would have rather been a part of rather than hearing about afterwards. But
Yeah.
you did what you did to protect this settlement. And that means a lot to me. Because I care about this settlement now and I care about you. So I think the fact that you brought Calvin back, like vaccine, I don't know. I don't know if that can work. We're gonna have enough trouble with the peacekeepers on our ass. They find out about this. I don't even know. We got a lot of work to do. So I
Yeah.
hope that I can count on you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, cool. So, how about Calvin?
I think this all kind of reinforces that lives are not currency.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps he should have just said outright that I, you know, that that you know the he couldn't stop the Hummers from doing things, but that basically that he realized that the vaccine actually worked.
Mm-hmm.
And we should basically tell should have said right then and there that you know in when that we should try controlled procedures to make sure of that.
Mm-hmm.
And but so
Yeah.
how he what he did was maybe was okay, but it was also maybe not the best way.
Well, yeah, and so I would imagine we could say you have your own sort of debrief here, like while Farah's off with Sasha, maybe you've got Cena the runner who's kind of just talking about all this with you, and initially a little wary because I think she thinks you might be infected with Song, and the thing is, you're not infected with Song,
Yeah.
but I think just this conversation about that, of just saying, you know, maybe it really is best to work together and make sure everybody's on the same page. And so we can all get along and we can be part of a big community and then help to spread that sense of harmony and community to everyone and to other settlements. And
no.
soon everyone will believe that lives are not currency and everyone needs to be brought together.
That actually almost sounds better, more like knowledge must be shared.
Well,
It could be cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That could freak me out.
Yeah, that is creepy though.
That is
Yeah.
a great moment to end on, I think.
Yeah. So, that is After the War.
Oh man,
Yay.
that
If Alistair's watching, thank you. At the beginning of this, I had questions and I wasn't really sure I was ready for this, and I kind of got brought around as the game went on. I'm a fan.
Ah. Well, I certainly had fun. I think obviously this game has some pretty different mechanics compared to like Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. So I think there were times it took us a little while to sort of really get a handle on the platform tilt question setup. But I kind of really like how it works. Like it's not easy to do, but it produces some cool stuff, I think.
Yeah.
yeah.
The conversation we have about what all of that should be, I feel like produces some interesting stuff.
Yeah. It also doesn't put the onus on you to come up with the whole storyline. You can kind of build a basic framework and then the rest of us help you flesh it out.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
So it's not
the GM and the player.
yeah.
And
I would
honestly,
say-
this could have gone worse because there was several of these rolls that you guys made where first of all, I could have been a little pushier about whether or not you get to use certain words, but I didn't worry about that. But like the dice meant that you guys succeeded in a couple of times where I thought you were probably going to fail. So
Yeah.
but that's how it goes, right? That's
Yeah, and I think understanding the strain economy is essential to being able to play strongly. I think you really need to understand that the moments of growth and the moments of discovery, you really have to play toward those. And one thing I've noticed is that if you take more than 2 strain in a scene, you're in a downward spiral. Because you're not going to basically each scene is like, if you're playing to your beliefs, which you should be all the time, is like 2 strain. There's 2 strain coming out, you and the person you have the moment of discovery with. So if you put more than 2 strain in, you're gonna have some lingering strain.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's things like, it could also, strain. Then somebody dies, and there's a moment of grief. So it's like, downward spiral is kind of the thing about the game.
It's a horror game. It's kind of that's supposed to happen, right? Like it's supposed to feel increasingly desperate. And it was actually just like it was some lucky rolls that like some of what I had in mind to I'm not sure what page I was trying to get to here. The moment of grief, I think. Some of what I had in mind for things that might happen as we progressed kind of just didn't because you guys kept getting successes on your rolls. So
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you successfully evacuated everybody, so there wasn't anybody
Yeah.
there to get infected by the new bees, or the new
Yeah.
Hummers and all that sort
Yep.
of stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, but what I'm saying is, I did not understand that strain economy when I started, so I was very leery of getting strain
Right.
because I didn't really understand how it cleared out again.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had known, how that worked better from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have played a little more. I
Aggressively.
wouldn't have been so hesitant early on.
Mm.
Once I got a handle on that, I knew what I should do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then me and David whacking it up to 4 strain so early in the game.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That
It was
was
just like,
wild.
no, I am not going to get up. I'm going to succeed on this roll, come heck or high water.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that's part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But yeah, so I had fun playing this with you guys. I hope you had fun too. Seems like
Oh, yeah.
you did.
oh yeah,
Great.
I think if next time next time playing, it's like maybe try and have beliefs that more mesh with each other.
Well, maybe have a little bit more of a conversation. Have it be a little bit more of a conversation in the sense of what kind of story we're thinking we might tell, and
Yeah.
also having it be more upfront as a discussion with everybody that when you're doing the tilt and the question, you should be actively trying to frame it around, well, how do I get this to challenge my beliefs? Just
Yeah.
like that.
or the beliefs of other players around the game. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, just having, if we'd had one scene where a ball court or a poker game or a sing along,
Some form of recreation.
but some form of recreation was going on for Alan to interact with, might have meant that he got to a moment of growth in this mini campaign rather than not.
Yeah.
So I think that and the thing is that it's difficult to insert as a tilt or a question, but easy to insert as a setting. So I think that those. I mean, is the setting always the game master's prerogative
Well,
of where the
what it says in the GM guide is that to begin with, that is generally how you do it, but you may decide as the game progresses to start opening that up. But I think the implication early on is that it's kind of a responsibility for the story, and if the players are not necessarily as ready to establish the world, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like the world building of it is kind of in the GM's purview up front, and then but yeah, it basically suggests that you could shift that, and I thought about it, but I decided we're kind of on a roll at this point.
That actually makes more sense down the road. Like if we were like, this feels like a TV episode. And then the 2 breaks are the 2 commercial breaks in between, getting from the beginning, the middle, and then the end. So once you're a couple episodes in and you're really comfortable with how this should run, it makes more sense because the world as a whole has already been built.
Yeah.
So you're just choosing settings that have already been established.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay.
But no, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Honestly-
Christiana and everybody.
Yeah. So.
I went into preparing for the plan,
Yeah.
basically somehow for Calvin to die. or become a legend in the wasteland.
Calvin wanted to be Handsome Jack.
It's not Borderlands.
So, thank you guys, and thank you everyone for watching or listening. However you have consumed this, remember you can buy After the War, at Drive-Through RPG, or at through from Genesis of Legend Publishing. There's going to be a link in the video and podcast notes for that if you want to check it out for your own table. And and of course, on this Twitch channel, we sometimes play other games. And in the meantime, I hope everyone plays good games, and this channel will be back for some other game soon. All
You
right.
betcha.
Bye.
Nice.
Night, everyone.
Bye.